Watch out. Watch out. There's four two-legged animals talking about Fallout Episode 6, The Trap. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to our Fallout breakdown and review. We're on Episode 6. We only got two more after this. Pretty exciting. But first, we're going to start with a question for the crowd. How's it going, everybody? What drink would you want to try in the Fallout universe? Let's start with Banana.
The atomic cocktail.
Atomic cocktail. Okay. What's the effects and what do we think it would taste like?
Well, it says the effects right here are energy resistance for 2 minutes, plus
solid.
25 energy resistance for 2 minutes, and then plus 25 fire resistance for 2 minutes, plus 9 rads.
And then you get rads for it.
It looks like a rocket ship.
Okay, but
That'd be cool though.
what do you think it'll taste like?
I'm thinking maybe like a lemon drop,
Lemon drop rocket ship?
like a very sour lemon cocktail.
Gonna burn you with some radiation, but you'll be resistant to energy and
Fire.
energy and fire. Yeah, interesting choice. Usually, alcoholic beverages are not resistant to fire, but we'll go with that. All right, so Banana wants the atomic cocktail. Let's go with Snickerer. How you doing? And what drink would you want to try in the Fallout universe?
I'm doing pretty swell. I would say that Sunset Sarsaparilla, maybe,
Ooh, good
because
choice.
I just feel like that's one of the basic drinks I'm always drinking in the game
Mm-hmm.
because I'm always low on health. I don't really know what sarsaparilla is, so
It's like basically root beer, but like not. And I bet you there's going to be some root beer buffs that attack me for that. But like,
okay. Well, yeah, that sounds passable.
Snicker, you haven't even played the game, so
I have played the game.
why you got to jump on him? He likes Sunset Sarsaparilla. He chose correctly. He chose New Vegas, Banana.
I know. I'm just
He chose
saying.
correctly. Just reminding everybody that Nick hasn't played as much Fallout. Just in case you guys forgot from the last episode where we mentioned it.
Or the one before that.
Or the one, yeah.
Or the
We're
one
on
before
episode
that.
6, so there's at least 5 episodes before this where we've mentioned
Check every episode beforehand.
it. But okay. Snicker, good choice. Sunset Sarsaparilla was going to be mine. I'm probably going to I'll think of a different one now. Dav Ninja, you next. What drink do you want to try out in the Fallout universe?
Borbov's Best Moonshine. It is
Oh my
made
God.
by the Borbov brothers, Yefim and Vadim, in Diamond City in Fallout 4. And it's just like any average alcohol you'd get in the game, +1 strength, +1 charisma, -1 intelligence, but you can get 25 max HP from it. Because I know there's certain perks you can get where eventually the alcohol doesn't debuff you as much.
Like Party Boy?
Yeah, or like you get less addicted, or I know
Yeah.
in New Vegas, if your survival was high enough, it like alcohol would you'd actually get healing bonuses from it and stuff.
That's pretty sweet.
But it's just the fact that I'm looking at the description of it right now, and it says Borbov's Best Moonshine is brewed by the Borbov brothers, Yefim and Vadim, in the dugout in Diamond City. Stored in roosters rum vodka bottles, the distilled beverage increases one's charisma and strength and lowers one's intelligence. You know, whatever. It's just I think it's cool the fact that they have basically like house-made moonshine. Because moonshine's something that you kind of only really vaguely see in those games.
Yeah, I think they did like the most moonshine I saw was that one, and then in Fallout 76 they have like a whole quest where you got to go make some moonshine.
Nuka
Other
Shine.
than that,
Nuka Shine, yeah.
the only other person I know of that makes moonshine in the Fallout universe.
Yeah, that would have been my. I changed my. That would have been my answer.
No,
Nuka
your
Shine.
atomic cocktail. Get out of here.
God damn.
But like I said, the only other person I know that makes moonshine is the lady in Point Lookout in the Fallout 3 DLC.
Yep, I remember.
Because you have to go bring her all the stuff, and then she kind of reveals to you that she's not actually sick. She just wants to get drunk.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's the wasteland. I can't even blame her.
I'm
at
just
that
here to
point.
get drunk.
I'm just here to get drunk. All right, cool. Okay, so we got some moonshine, we got some sarsaparilla, we got some atomic cocktail. My drink that I want to try in the Fallout universe is the Nuka-Cola Quantum. I want the blue one. I want it to be glowing blue. It reminds me of my blue full throttles that I love so much, and I think it would taste like those, which would be fantastic. But not the normal Nuka-Cola. I'm not a huge cola fan, but that Quantum, that looks pretty tasty.
Well, it's funny. I don't think anyone ever picks the basic cola because it's like, it's just regular
Basic
Coca-Cola.
one, right?
The unique flavors seem interesting, though.
Ooh, you know why Nick likes Sunset Sarsaparilla?
Why?
The star bottle caps that you get to collect and then turn in for a prize.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You gotta collect them all.
That's an actual thing?
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
actual thing.
Okay.
That means a mysterious man's just gonna show up to you. Name's Malcolm Holmes. Been following you for a bit.
You freaking weirdo.
He's gonna want your bottle caps, Nick. Don't give them to him.
Yep.
My question is, you think you turn glowing blue if you drink the glowing blue liquid?
No,
I
because I'm
feel
pretty
like your
sure.
pee would.
Ew. I'm pretty sure Nuka Cola Quantum was out before the bombs fell. So I have no idea. I don't think so, but I'm sure I'd probably get cancer or something.
It can't be safe.
No, it can't be healthy.
I mean, it's
But-
drinking regular, so.
Okay, all right. We got all of our drinks in there. Comment your drink down below, and let's go ahead and jump into the dissection of Fallout, Episode 6, The Trap. Open up right into the episode, and we are before the bombs dropped. And we're with Cooper Howard, and he's doing a commercial for Vault Tech. And he's in, it seems to be Vault 4, I believe, is what the number was. And he's walking around, and he's saying, like, hey, I'm usually an actor, but now I'm, I'm a working stiff, and I gotta plug Vault Tech and tell you how great it is, and they're gonna save us, and it's basically the Camelot of the nuclear age. And he's just walking around Vault 4, which is interesting because we didn't know from the last episode where Lucy and Max ended up, but it did seem like there were some 4s on the jumpsuits that Lucy was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look close enough during this commercial, while he's walking around, he's knocking on the walls and being like, check this out. It's like fully livable. It's like the perfect place to be. Strong enough. He says, like, strong enough to keep out the rads and the reds. So anti-communism stuff there. But if you look around, you'll see that there's parts of Vault 4 that remind us that look exactly the same as what Lucy and Max were looking at when they dropped in there. So it seems that they, in I guess the present time of the show, dropped into Vault 4 where Cooper Howard did an advert to sell it. He's talking about how this vault is like there's people volunteering to be in there early, and he like talks to this like family that's sitting around a table, and they're scientists that are working down here to basically fix the wasteland. That's kind of what the commercial is. Basically, there's going to be some volunteers. They're going to go down into the vault. They're going to stay there for a 5-year trial before the bombs even drop, or if they drop, right? Though it seems like there's a heavy implication from Vault Tech that the bombs are going to drop. So, and then he says basically these guys are heroes, and now you can be a hero too. Call now, 21325-VAULT. By purchasing a residence in the Vault Tech Vault today, basically you'll help out tomorrow and build a better America and stuff like that. So
Typical Vault Tech slogan stuff.
Typical Vault Tech slogan stuff. What we're gonna do here, actually, because then they cut the scene after that and they go on, but we're gonna call the number on our video right now. So let me go ahead and get this out, and it's 21325. And then Vault would be 82. Where's the U? Where's the L? L T. Okay, so it's 213-258-2858. Let's go ahead and are you guys ready for this? I'm kind of
You're gonna get locked into a vault.
Yeah, am I about to get volunteered for a vault?
Yep, they're gonna come kidnap you, and yeah,
Vault Tech's coming.
it's
Okay.
not gonna be a volunteer.
All right,
thing.
here we go. It's just screaming.
Yep.
How long does it go? That's it.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how they're getting sales on that, but apparently that's how you get people into Vault Tech.
I mean, that's pretty cool that they did that.
That they
I
actually
didn't
made the
even-
number go somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't even think that you could actually call it, but
They always have to do that because people.
Crazy enough to be like, I'll call that.
It's any movie that has a phone number. They're like, what if we actually call that number?
See what happens. Imagine if they use some dude's random number and he's like, stop calling me.
I know, I forgot what movie it is, but there was a movie that ended up doing that, and that person's phone ended up getting blown up, like, constantly.
Oh my! I think I know. Solely off topic, real quick. But yeah, they posted an advertisement for his number on a billboard somewhere, and then people just started calling. That'd be
Dude,
terrible.
that's gotta suck. If you, I basically mute everything that comes into my phone anyways. I don't want to talk to anybody. So imagine your phone just getting blown up.
change your number. That's what you have to do.
No, you record your message machine to be a bunch of screaming and then, and then list it.
Gotcha. Elaborate voicemail message.
Yeah, exactly, just like Archer. But okay, cool. We called the number and there's just screaming. So hilarious. A nice little attention to detail, which this show does constantly. Love it. Now, what I failed to mention was that this whole scene was like in black and white because they do the commercial like it's in black and white, which is kind of interesting because they not have color TV?
No.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Because like I didn't even think about this before, but the timeline splits from our timeline and the Fallout timeline in the 50s, and they advanced technologically, but it's into stuff that you think like it's like into robots and gear and weapons and like appliances.
But
And
if you look at a lot of their stuff, though, like it's a lot of it's like looks the same, but it's a lot more like kind of futuristic.
yeah, it's like they stopped in the 50s and they didn't really change their mindset.
Because
So like,
cars are really cool looking. They're just
oh yeah,
like they look though like they're from the 50s though. Like you can still tell that.
yeah, they're like advanced, but they're not. It's very strange. But they don't have color TV. So what's cool about this is they did that whole in black and white, and then as soon as director says cut, we switch back to color, like we're watching the show. And then he basically congratulates a bunch of people, and they're all like, "Thanks for coming out." They're all happy. And this is where he meets this guy named Bud Askins. And Bud Askins is like telling him how he works for Vault-Tec and stuff, and he did tenure at West Tech. And this is where Cooper, it's interesting, he's kind of bitter here because he was all like, oh, you worked at West Tech? You know that T-45 armor that you guys made? A lot of people died because of you and your crap and the like problems with that armor. Bud Askins doesn't care. He's like, yeah, product management was never my bag. Basically, just is like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care that all those people
Pretty
died.
much shit happens.
Right? Like, he's like, whatever. And he's like, I'm more focused on HR, R&D now. And it's like, oh, gosh, this guy's in HR? Why? What the crap? So they have this conversation, and you can obviously tell Cooper doesn't like this guy. He's just a Vault-Tec butthole. So he basically is like, whatever.
He's not even looking at any time.
Yeah, he says it's like, what's how do you outsell your competition? How do you destroy your competition? It's time is the ultimate weapon. Bud's like, it sounds complicated, but the future of all humanity comes down to one word: management. And that is disgusting. Honestly, I hate that he says that because you think about it, that's what Vault-Tec is doing. They're basically just managing everybody into the apocalypse.
And that's kind of what Vault 31 is, right? It's just a big vault of managers.
Well, that's what it seems like we're figuring out, right? Like, it definitely seems like Vault 31 is controlling 32 and 33. And in Vault 32, remember they wrote in blood on the wall, like, down with management or whatever. And that we know the truth and stuff like that.
We know what's behind that door.
We know what's behind that door.
It's my manager.
It's my manager. But yeah, so like management is kind of the huge implication here. Corporation mentality taking over. Cooper's like, well, I'm awful happy for you, Buck, and then leaves. And it's Bud, but he calls him Buck. Just disrespects him. And then he goes over to his wife, who's there, and she works for Vault-Tec. So like he's talking to her, and he's like, wow, I hate being here. These people suck. Like I can't wait to go home and just do nothing. And she's like, yeah, where there's an after party. And he's like, well, let's just go home. And she's like, no, we're hosting the party at our house. And he's like, well, the things I'm willing to do for you never cease to amaze me. really loves his wife for some reason. I would have not been super happy about having my house volunteered for a party with a bunch of people I don't want to talk to.
More like, when were you gonna let me know that we're having this party at my place?
Right then, apparently. Like,
Oh, right now, honey. It's happening now. It's like,
yeah.
oh, I'm gonna go to the bar.
Right? Like, I gotta go run some errands all of a sudden. But yeah, so that's where the first scene ends. Kind of cool. We get a little glimpse at like the same vault we saw from Lucy and Max, and we get to meet some BS Vault Tech reps that are all about management.
It feels kind of like how Vault Tech really is, though. Like when I look at those guys,
Fake.
I'm like, there's a lot of them are just scientists.
Yeah, awkward social skills. Think about everybody as like a subject. Everything's numbers. Everything's like this will happen if this happens. They don't seem to have any real respect for like life.
Scientists can think about that way. Yeah, that's scientists, though. It's easier to think about that way when you're a scientist and you're just thinking of it as a test subject, like you said.
Exactly.
Did we know before this that his wife worked for Vault-Tec, or did we just kind of suspect?
Yeah, you guys said that episode 1. Like, I was the only person that was like, I think she's another actress, and everybody else was like, no, she works for Vault-Tec. So
Yeah, I thought she did, but I think this was the first confirmation.
this
we got.
episode, I think, really confirms it. I think that, right, like, this episode dives deep. It's funny because we've had these conversations through every episode where we're like, we think it's this or think it's that, and then, like, it happens exactly like we say it happens. So it's kind of interesting. But, okay, they're gonna have a party. The scene opens up with one of the most badass houses I've ever seen. Like Cooper Howard's house.
I want to live there so bad.
It's so cool. It's like that flat, those like modern like houses where they're like the flat roof.
But it's modern houses from the 50s era.
Right. So and it looks even more futuristic.
God, it looks so good.
I wonder whose house they actually used to film it. Like, because that house is real. Someone lives there.
I think a lot of it too is like 50s has like also like a lot of like modern aspects with like open windows and like very like nice open rooms and like just nice open. It feels like a lot of sharp, clean lines, but it's like still 50s retro style.
Mm-hmm.
It
looks clean, and like there's a lot of nice cars out front. There's a pool, huge nice lawn. It looks like just modern architecture. Really good looking. So they show us his house. Obviously, he's very wealthy. They dip into the house, and he's kind of getting ready for the party, and he's like straightening his tie, and then his dog comes up, and he's all like, you know what, I got to go out there alone. You stay back. I'm heading into enemy territory. He's telling his dog he doesn't want to be there. And then he's moving down the stairs and stuff, and he actually sees a poster here that'll it's kind of important for a conversation later, but basically it says Cooper Howard, starring in A Man and His Dog. So he really does like his dog. I mean, he did a movie with his dog.
That dog's also a very 50s Western style dog. It's a border, or it's a, man, what kind of dog is that? It's a, I forget what kind of dog.
Collie?
I think it's a border. I think it's a border collie. I don't know I forget my dog breed sometimes. But anyway, yeah. It reminds me of like a border collie, like a sheep roaming dog.
Right, so very classic, like, looking dog.
Cattle ranching dog.
Exactly. The cowboy in him is strong, right? So he's walking through his party, people complimenting him, saying they like, I loved you in this movie, and they're like being excited about stuff. And while he's walking through and everybody's talking about him, you can hear on the radio, it says, oh, no, this wasn't on the radio. This was a Vault-Tec rep talking, because this is all Vault-Tec people. I thought it was the radio, but no. Negotiations in Anchorage are having a serious impact on pre-sales. We'll have to circle up with DC about that, ideally before our quarterly projection release. The implications of this sentence are disgusting. They're annoyed that there's peace negotiations in Anchorage, where the war's being fought, because it's affecting their sales of the vaults. And then they say they gotta talk to DC, so they're gonna talk to the government and try and change the fact that there's going to be peace so that when the quarterly projection releases, a lot more people have bought in. So like Vault-Tec is basically trying to get the bombs to be dropping. They want people to be not happy. That's the way they return on their investment, which is just disgusting. The whole implication of management and being like, wow, we need to stop peace negotiations so that bombs fall it's just super shady. And Cooper Howard's having a party full of these people in his house. In fact,
Well, it's crazy that they have that much. They have that much pull with the government to be able to impact like peace negotiations. Like they're a business, but I didn't realize how like big they were.
powerful.
Yeah.
It's because the government's just a business too, in a sense.
Yeah, no,
They're getting a piece of the pie just like anybody else, friend. Because Vault-Tec has investors being the military in the government, because they want to see what these experiments are going to do.
yeah, and it doesn't really speak well, but just because like basically the government here is like vying for, if the bombs do drop, they want to be safe, which is enclave, right? Basically, remnants of the government are going to want spots in vaults or not, right? Because the enclave doesn't really use the vaults, but like groups of them probably are vying for positions in these vaults if the bombs fall. So if they get told by Vault-Tec to push it a certain way, otherwise they'll lose their spot, they're going to do it. And that's kind of just the sick nature of this world. And they don't really express it. They do a good job of like telling you the news, but the show's done a good job of glossing over how serious everything is, that there is a lack of resources, that they have all kind of used them all up, and that it is kind of inevitable that there will be some type of conflict. We're just hoping that it's not, everybody nuclearly bombs each other. So, interesting point there that they're having that conversation, and he kind of just brushes it off because he doesn't really hear it, but we can hear it, right, as the viewers. So you can put those pieces together. Anyway, moving on, he moves through the party and actually goes out to his pool. And out at his pool is this guy named Sebastian, and he's the guy that does the voicing of all the of the Codsworths, Mr. Handies. So he's like flirting with some of these waitresses and stuff, and he's saying, "I'm Bartholomew Codsworth. I'm ever ready to serve." It's like saying stuff to them. And then he tries to hit on him, and he's like, "Hey, could we go to like maybe a private room and I could show you a little bit more?" And she's like, "Oh, no, see you later." He gets kind of blown off, which kind of sucks. But Cooper walks up to him and says, "Hey, Seabass." So it's like Sebastian Seabass, like he's got a nickname for him. They seem to be friends. And Sebastian's like, "This isn't our usual scene, I'll give you that," even though it's Cooper's house. But they're kind of out next to the pool. Nobody else is out there, and they're talking. And Sebastian's like, I think a lot of our Hollywood actor friends don't want to be seen celebrating with the pitchman for the end of the world, which is kind of a good point because Cooper is the pitchman for the end of the world, right? He's the Vault-Tec boy.
Why would that matter?
Because image at the time, right? Like, and we'll kind of dive more into this, but basically, Hollywood, they're always trying to be anti this or go that way with that or do something like this. It's all political, and it's so. It's basically like he's now blacklisted for a bunch of people, right? Because he chose to be the spokesman for Vault-Tec, and Vault-Tec is kind of like, people see it's evil, but people don't see it's evil, right? It's a very controversial thing going on in their country right now. So that's why a lot of the actors are kind of like, I don't want to be associated with Cooper Howard.
Oh,
Luckily, Sebastian doesn't care, right? Sebastian's like, "Hey, this is the future, actually." And he even says it. He's like, "Radicalism is sweeping through Hollywood like a bad case of the clap," which was kind of a great line. But basically, he's like, "Nobody else gets this, man." He says this to Cooper. He says, "Nobody else gets this. We're actually, like, Hollywood is the past. Those guys don't get what's going on. The future is products. You're a product. I'm a product. The end of the world is a product." So this actor, basically, he sold his voice, right, to become the voice of all Mr. Handies that are in everybody's home. He's basically sold himself as a product, and he's saying, you're selling yourself as a product, right? You are a person that's like being the vault boy for this corporation. I'm a voice for a robot for a corporation. He's like, this is the future. This is how everything's going to go. It's once again kind of affirming that, like, corporations are winning here. Vault-Tec's winning here.
That's capitalism.
That's capitalism at an extreme, right? It's just taking over, and everything's a product. You don't matter. They don't matter. People don't matter. You buy yourself, you sell yourself, whatever. And it's kind of funny to see, like, hear the Mr. Handy guy saying it. In fact, he kind of rips into him. Cooper rips into him and says something about, like, "Well, you sold your voice and stuff." And like Sebastian's like, "Yeah, I got this much money or whatever, and they gave me a Mr. Handy." He's like, it was the dumbest idea ever because like every time I go home, my voice is saying, "Hello, sir. How do you want to sit down?" and like trying to help him. So he goes into his own house and his robots sounds like him and is helping him. It's got to be weird,
That would be so annoying. It's just
right?
like talking to yourself.
Right? Tell yourself to shut up. Like,
I like the part where like he's like, "Oh, guess how much they paid me for like the voice licensing," and then Cooper's like, 10 million, and he's like, "No, I got like 186,000." Like super undershot it.
that's it, pre-tax.
Which is funny because do you think how far into the future his voice went? Like it's
Oh
one
yeah.
of the longer lasting things.
Also, like, isn't inflation supposed to be like rampant right now? Like, he got super screwed over.
I don't know about the inflation.
Yeah, same.
Sorry, I've been spending all this time trying to track down that house, and I found it.
Who owns it?
It's called the Gary Cooper Estate. It's in California. It looks a lot kind of like that. It's very retro. It's a 4-bed, 5-bath in California, Los Angeles.
How much?
$18 million.
Dang.
Gosh. So what's the mortgage on that? What are you paying monthly?
Too much.
Too damn much.
Just a piece of your soul. just every month a piece of your
But
soul.
I'm like looking at this house and I'm like, I'd give my lungs and organs to.
Left nut. I'd give left nut for that. You need a kidney? I got you.
I'm gonna copy it so you guys can see it later when we're done.
I'm down. We'll have to check that house out. But okay, so this whole scene's basically about Sebastian and Cooper hating everybody that's in his house and kind of getting disgusted with the Vault-Tec people, even though he works for them, and having that conversation about everybody being a product, even the end of the world. So we move to modern times, or I guess wasteland times for the show, and we're with the ghoul again. And he's laying on his back in the super duper mart after his drug binge party. And he's slowly waking up to the sound of the Codsworth, the snip snip robot, saying, like, "I am ever ready to serve." And it's almost like that Codsworth was talking during his sleep, so he was having dreams about when it was before the bombs dropped and he was talking to Sebastian. But while he's waking up, there's these two guys in like sheriff outfits, and they're walking up to him, and the ghoul's actually immediately just sassy. He's like, "You guys here for the ice cream social? Because I'm afraid I got bad news for you," which is kind of funny. And the sheriff says, like, "Rip that fusion core out of that Codsworth over there," and they rip the fusion core out. And he's like, "You are destroying a legitimate business," to the ghoul, and the ghoul is like, "Says who?" And then they say, "The government," and then they hit the ghoul and knock him out. Now, what's funny about this is they're like saying it's a legitimate business, and it's just literally organ harvesting of like feral ghouls and ghouls. So it's nothing like what is legitimate in the wasteland, right?
Those are legitimate organs. I'll have you know.
Yeah,
But they're so like I don't understand how those organs work because they got to be so like rad infested, like they'll just melt whoever you put them into, right?
Maybe they're for eating.
Or maybe they're selling them to like Vault-Tec.
Maybe they're making drugs out of them. I don't know.
Maybe they're passing them off as real organs, or like normal people organs. I guess.
I mean, they're not. I guess, but like, I guess they don't care. Anybody that's able to have
Maybe
a
they're
surgery.
just selling organs, and who knows?
But who's got good enough, like, who can do surgery besides, I guess, the Codsworth robots? So I think it's got to be Vault-Tec. I think they got to be selling to Vault-Tec.
well, one thing I did notice with those ghouls, though, is some of them, or at least the one that Lucy kind of hesitated to kill in the previous episode, wasn't completely feral, but like had turned in like what we saw in the episode. So it makes me wonder if maybe they weren't all feral ghouls at one point,
They weren't.
and they were being harvested prior to that, if the organs were still somewhat usable at that point.
But they wouldn't be, because if you're a ghoul, you have taken a crap ton of radiation.
Yes, but that doesn't mean your insides melt, because if that's the case, the ghouls wouldn't be walking around at all. They would just die.
That's not true. They don't use their organs. They don't use their organs at all. They don't have to eat. They don't have to drink. They don't have to do anything. They just got to stay
So you-
sane.
You're telling me they have no heartbeat, they don't have any brain activity.
They might, but they're still going to be radiation ran. That's the only way they can live for like 200 years.
I mean, I think they
But
still.
their organs still
You
gotta.
can still purify radiation, though.
But I don't think a ghoul's heart that is a ghoul's heart would work inside a human heart that's not been ghoulified. Like, there's just no way that that's gonna work. But they don't, go into it, and maybe we'll find out later. It just seems like a weird, funny business, and they call it a legitimate business. And I bet you they're selling it to Vault Tech. But we were wondering who was coming for the pickup or whatever that they mentioned before in the other episode, and now we know it's the government, whatever that means.
Well, if you think about it real quick, actually, Lucy was going straight to having her organs harvested. So maybe the humans are just quick to be instantly cut and harvested.
And they can hold on to the ghouls
compared to like, I'm assuming they sell a lot of those ghoul parts to ghouls.
But why would I guess because ghouls are like falling apart, so maybe they need pieces.
Well, you've seen how long he's held together, and the only reason he's held together is through taking that serum. But that still wouldn't mean, like your lung might get shot and you have a hole in your lung. You still might need a new lung.
It didn't seem to matter to him when he got shot up in Philly.
Yeah, right? Remember that? He got shot like 6 times and he just didn't care.
Well, yeah, I could see like selling to other ghouls.
But stim packs also exist, so I'm like, I don't know, what are they?
Well, that's what we talked about with Lucy's finger, right? Like, if she stims packs, does that regenerate?
No.
So then she just has a rotten finger?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
And if that's the case, the decay and necrosis would eventually start to spread throughout the rest of her body.
Wouldn't it? Right? Like, wouldn't it rot her hand?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Over time, slowly but surely, yes. Or she'd get a blood infection and die very, very quickly.
Right, like, I'm wondering, like, out of all the people to be like, I would have been, if I was her, I'd been like, nah, that one's rotten. I don't want that one. Like, just like, nah.
Well, in that case, soldering the finger on, I don't think would automatically make you being able to move it. Like, I
Yeah.
think it would just be
Do they
on
just
there.
think that soldering on a finger, it's like, oh, there's going to be blood flow back to that finger. It'll be good as new. It's like, that's what? No, it's not going to go backwards.
Well,
it's
like
going to.
black and rotten. Like, I don't get how that works. That's what I'm saying. This whole business that's a legitimate business, it just seems weird.
There's nothing
Like,
legit about this business.
it just seems so weird that you'd be selling organs in the wasteland. I guess because it's nefarious. It's like weird. It's
Hear
like
me out. And it's just me grasping at straws here.
oh no.
The NCR. They're calling it a legitimate business just so they can tax people on it.
Oh my gosh. No.
I mean,
Well,
they're the government, right?
well, not anymore, right?
We don't know.
True. That was my biggest question from the last episode. Did the NCR, like, is there any remnants? Is there anybody?
I'm convinced there is.
There's got to be something, or at least like maybe like an army that stayed alive, right? Kind of like how the Brotherhood started. So maybe now the NCR is kind of how the Brotherhood was when they started, where there's just like an army with a general or something that was out in the field.
And it doesn't even have to be official remnants. It could just be somebody propping themselves up as
that would be
the
pretty
heir
good too.
to the NCR.
I need to watch another episode before I can start making that assumption.
Right. Another interesting point about this scene is they talk about that fusion core, right? And we know Max needs a fusion core. So I wonder if like the ghoul will escape these guys, take the fusion core, and somehow by the end of the series get back with Lucy and Max and give them the fusion core, maybe? Do you think the ghoul's gonna do something nice because Lucy did something nice for him?
No. Thinking logically here, most vaults are powered by fusion generators, which take fusion cores. And since Max and Lucy are inside of a vault right now...
He's just gonna cripple that vault?
Oh, dude, homie, I already get that vibe. We've been in there for like less than 5 minutes. I'm already kind of like, Fusion cores, though, are very, very valuable. Anybody who gets their hand on one can make a pretty penny off turning around selling it.
I'm more curious that the Mr. Handy has a fusion core because I've never seen one Mr. Handy with a fusion core.
True, right? Because we haven't been like... See, that's what I'm saying. So, like, we don't normally see Mr. Handys with fusion cores. They make a point to point out that there is a fusion core in this one. They could have just stomped on the robot and made him stop, but they said take out his fusion core. I think that fusion core is going to be important later. Too Risky is the one that actually pointed that out to me, but I think she's onto something there. So, And then we get the title screen, and it says Fallout, and it's glowing radiation green, and then it flickers out. Back to Lucy and Max. Now they're getting some medical care. Max is getting his medical care for being shot, and they're still kind of sitting in that gurney area, and they're chatting with the people there. And the doctor's all like, using teeth for ammunition. What kind of animals are up there? They'll use anything to kill each other. So remember when Max sold his teeth for some caps?
It was ammo.
I guess there's a huge market for teeth in the wasteland as ammunition. Which,
Well, also he got shot by the cannibals, right?
yeah, which means the cannibals are holding on to the teeth and then loading their guns with them. Which, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Ammunition can't be like super manufactured here. They got to use whatever they got, right? We saw the junk jet earlier, so now they're just using.
Honestly, I think at this point in time, ammo would be pretty much non-existent unless it's being manufactured. Ammo would no longer exist because
200 years,
200
all
years,
used up.
and you have pretty much the military who's got most of it, and use is most of it because they shoot heavy caliber machine guns that burn through ammo.
Well, it also begs the question how much ammunition was just around when the bombs fell and how much that got destroyed, or is there warehouses? Like, there's obviously quite a bit of ammunition going around, but you definitely want to start speccing into a melee build.
That's why I like single shots, because you can preserve your ammo a lot better because you're not firing away aimlessly.
Yeah, that was my biggest problem in Fallout 4 was using the automatic rifles. You kind of just ran out of your ammunition way too fast, and it didn't do as much damage as some of the other weapons that you have.
Especially if you didn't spec into them.
So with this being the Fallout universe, the possibility handcrafted ammo is not out of reach because realistically there are reloading benches in Fallout New Vegas that you can just reload and remake your own ammo.
Well, and think about the gun runners, right? Like, they probably found a factory that manufactures ammunition. In fact, I'm pretty sure is that the lore of the gun runners, that they found like a factory and like some armory, and that's how they like got all those weapons and everything, and they started selling them.
Something like that, I think so.
You'd have to find all the raw materials to still use the factory, though. Like, whatever goes into a bullet, you need to find mass quantities of it.
My uncle makes his own bullets rather than buying them, and pretty much all you have to buy is just a primer powder and then your brass tip for your gun, because you can save all your shells and just reuse them all the time. It's the other two parts you need.
I guess as long as you know how to make the powder, you should be good.
You could just use teeth.
Yeah, or you can just use teeth. That's easy.
It's pretty easy to get teeth.
Shoot some shrapnel. This is just
You're already eating these people.
Load it into a shotgun. Could you imagine like a full mouth of teeth in a shotgun? This is just terrible.
I'd have some like catapult freaking gun thing that I could just load whatever onto it and just shoot it.
No, get a slingshot like Usopp and then just kill people with like rocks.
Toy cars. Terminal
Kill 'em with-
velocity.
Yeah, toy cars at terminal velocity. But anyway, moving on from our ammunition discussion, they're helping out Max, and Max is like basically ready to go. And Birdie, who is like the person that's talking for Vault 4, by the way, they're all wearing Vault 4 jumpsuits. She's talking to Lucy, and she's all like, I know you guys are eager to keep going, but he's going to have to heal. You know, he just got shot, and he's like, oh, I don't care. I'm fine. And the doctor's like, you had a rotten human tooth lodged inside your shoulder. You're not fine. But Lucy's like, hey, trust these people. They're vault doctors. We should listen to their advice. Don't worry about it.
I'm just going to say one thing. Birdie is really pale. Like, compared to a lot of... Yeah, she's very pale.
She reminds me of a vampire. She's kind of got a vampire look.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she look like out of all the people
kind of gaunt.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she's like taller, gaunt, like kind of like
slimmer
looking.
Almost like she reminds me of like someone from like the Addams Family.
Right. Something's off with her. Like, something's definitely off with her. But yeah, Lucy thanks her, and she's like, oh, don't worry. This is what we do. Now, this part's interesting, though. Birdie tells them that they found the power armor that they stowed, which is like, okay. So Vault 4 went out while these guys were in here and found Max's power armor and brought it into the vault. but
Which he hid under a bridge,
like
pretty far away, right?
Right? So how did they know where the armor was?
I don't know.
How'd they go get it so fast?
Well, I think the implication is that like a full night passed. I mean, that's been this show's MO.
Okay,
Dude,
still.
everything happens really fast.
But unless
in
you were
this
gonna hop in that power armor and move it yourself, those things weigh a metric ton. How are you moving that thing?
you get another power armor.
Or they might have fusion cores there, like extras.
So they just like put a fusion core in it and got it over here.
Sure.
I don't know. It's weird.
It's definitely
Right.
weird. I agree 100%. How they found it, how they brought it here.
It makes me feel like Vault-Tec can really do anything at any time, and I don't like that feeling.
It's like they just know everything and you don't even know.
Right? Like, are they just watching everybody at all times? It just seems suspicious. I don't like it.
The Institute is.
Right? And if you're a Fallout fan, you know to not trust the vaults, right?
I have theories about the Institute, too.
Because they got birds. They got watchers.
So maybe the Vault-Tech's got birds
Something.
or rad
Oh, I
roaches.
have a very specific theory about a couple of characters in this show, and if Bethesda doesn't reveal it, I'm going to have to keep to myself.
What? Why? Why not? If they're theories, why not share them?
Because I haven't been given enough evidence yet.
Okay, we'll let them cook.
Thank you. Until I get more evidence, or at least something that's stable enough for me to make a statement.
Just know the Dev Ninja's cooking.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, back to the conversation between Birdie. They found the power armor, and Lucy's like, this is great. You guys are so nice. I love being back in the vault. Everything's great now. Yada, yada, yada. And then we find out Birdie's like, well, actually, I was born on the surface. I'm not a vault dweller. And she's like, oh, that's weird. Like, you seem normal, right? And this is where Birdie tells her that her mother was a courier and that she's from
Mojave Express.
Right? That's what I'm wondering. But her mother was a courier, and she used to live in in Shady Sands that got bombed. So, really interesting thing here. They're pulling in the couriers from New Vegas.
Courier, Shady Sands, definitely works for the Mojave Express.
Right? I don't think it's the Courier 6, though. I think it's another one of the couriers.
No,
Like, I
but
don't think it's
definitely
going to be him.
Could have been Courier 4.
Right? Just a random one. Very interesting stuff there. Really nice callback to New Vegas. I love every time they pull in New Vegas stuff.
Call me the Wanderer.
Too Risky does have an idea here that, like, you already kind of could tell she looked different. We talked about how she was, like, pale and gaunt and, like, looked kind of weird for this situation. Remember in the other vaults, they all kind of have the same 50s vibe,
He
the
looks
50s
kind
style,
of out of
right?
place.
Hairdos and stuff. This lady, Birdie's got, right? She's got, like, long, straight hair. I'm telling you, she just looks like a vampire. I don't know if you guys have seen What We Do in the Shadows, but there's literally, like, characters that look exactly like her. Kind of weird. Anyway, so definitely some very suspicious, and she confirms it. She's from out of the vault. She's from Shady Sands. The bombs fell. She's like, yeah, a ton of us were actually accepted into the vault. So Vault 4 has been taking in people from outside the vault. I wonder if they've been doing it the same way that they just did it for Lucy and Max, where they fell into a hole, or if they actually went out there and, like, met with people and said, hey, we've got a nice place for you. Or did they just trank the people and pull them into the vault?
They would have been, like, maybe opened up to them.
Like, went out there and kind of like, hey, we just saw you got bombed. Looking for a place to stay?
We got a shelter.
We've got a shelter for you. But moving right along, we come into one of the funniest scenes in the entire show. Birdie leaves, and so it's just Lucy and Max, and they're sitting there, and they got to wait a little bit longer to make sure there's no contamination or whatever. It seems like they're just getting ready for him, so they're making him sit there. It's kind of quiet and awkward, and then Max looks at Lucy and says, you smell good. Lucy's like, what? Like, like not even registering on her. And then she's like, oh, do you want to have sex? And Max is just, like, completely taken aback, and he's like, you mean use my cock? And Lucy's like, yeah, like, it's fine. Like, let's have sex or whatever. And Max is like, well, I don't know. That weird thing could happen. And Lucy's like, what weird thing? And he's like, well, when I was in the Brotherhood, I was talking for some of the guys, not me, but for some of the guys, you know, when they make it move, it gets all big and hard, like a big pimple, and then it pops.
Ooh.
And they say it can happen to anybody, but it's gross.
That's that brotherhood sex ed
Yeah.
coming through.
Not the greatest sex ed classes for the Brotherhood. And Lucy even says, like, that's actually supposed to happen. That happens every time, ideally.
It's completely normal.
Just a funny conversation. But she's offered sex on the table, and Max is like kind of scowling at it. He's like, I don't know what to say to this. And finally he goes, I'm a knight of the Brotherhood, and we're not supposed to. And Lucy gives her classic response of like, okie dokie. I thought this was interesting that she immediately offers sex and stuff, and it kind of gives you like an idea of her mental state of what she's doing, right? She's in the vault. She was basically, when we first met her, she's marrying a dude from another vault to make babies to repopulate. So for Lucy, having sex is mostly to reproduce, to repopulate the earth.
She's like, I just kind of have this urge where I need to just get down.
Right? You think Lucy's just got to get down? Well, that's what I'm saying. I think she's just been raised like, hey, this is the time when you were supposed to have babies. And this is the time, you know what I mean? And she knows that they probably say like, and it helps a man concentrate, like typical vault tech, whatever. And so she's looking at Max, and Max says those things, and she's like, this could help him if we just have sex. And it's so casual too. Like he just got shot. He just got patched up. They're literally in a place where everybody can see them. And she's just like, would you like to have sex?
She says it so casually.
Exactly. So funny scene. Max kind of bails and is kind of nervous, but you can tell like Max has a crush on her. He likes her. She's different than anybody else that he's ever seen, right? She's kind. She talks to him. It's just kind of interesting that this is their interaction, and Lucy's just so blunt about it.
Well, I mean, how many girls has Max been around?
Right?
Coming to the Brotherhood.
Right? How many girls that aren't super soldiers that are like,
think
we
of
just
the
need
name
to be soldiers
too.
for the Brotherhood.
It's
right?
Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Brother. Hello, brother.
The little brother. Little wrestling in the shower. So they have that scene, and then they switch. And now we're seeing Lucy and Max, and they're sitting in a nice little courtyard. And there's like picnic benches and stuff, and they're sitting there and they're eating some food. Max is kind of still concerned. He's like, we need to stop wasting time. Like, we need to get out of here. Like, we got to go find that head. And Lucy's like, don't worry about it. You need to heal. Like, I can't have you dead. She says, like, you're no good to me dead. And also, I'd feel bad, which is interesting. And then Max says, I think these people are trying to trap us here. He just says it outright. I don't trust any of the people here.
This is a trap.
This seems like a trap. We literally fell into a hole. They're treating us really nice. This is not normal for the wasteland. And Lucy's still in denial. She's like, no, these people are from the surface like you. Like, Vault-Tec's just doing a good thing here.
Yeah, no, she's like, dude, this is the best place on earth. Like, it doesn't get no better than living here.
Right. And they start looking around at all the people, right? All these people they're talking about. Max is still uncertain. He's calling them a cult. And Lucy's like, it's not a cult. And this is funny. Max is like, everyone's smiling. And Lucy's like, Titus, this is, because remember, she only knows him as Titus, by the way. He says, this is a safe place where people can take care of each other. And this is completely contradictory to Max. He's like, but why? Like, why would people want to take care of each other? And Lucy says, because in the vaults, we recognize that we all need each other, just like I needed you on the surface. So she's still very much that mentality of the vaults and helping people and kind of the good thoughts, right? But that's not the wasteland. So Max grew up completely different from her, sees the world in a completely different light. What's also interesting about this scene is that Max and Lucy are kind of looking around, and you don't really notice it at first, but if you look a little bit closer, they're looking at all these different vault dwellers. And this is before Max even says they're a cult and stuff. He's looking at them, and they look normal, but if you look a little closer, there's like a woman with gills, and there's like another one with a bunch of scars. And like, so there's some weird people here. Like, sure, they're on the surface, but like, how did that lady get gills? The scars might make sense, but how did that other lady get gills?
Is this the part with the guy with the nose on his forehead?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So you see the dude with the nose on his forehead. You see, like, that's what I'm saying. You see a couple people that just look weird. And then Birdie actually walks back up and she says, sorry to interrupt your breakfast, but our overseer wanted to say a quick hello. And this is when the overseer walks up, and he's a cyclops. He's got one eye, and it's not like to the left or right. It's one eye in the middle of his head, and they don't know how to react. It's weird because Lucy's kind of just like stunned. Max seems not too phased by it.
Max is like, oh, this is normal to me.
Right, he doesn't seem phased by all these weirdos with gills and like an extra nose on their forehead and like a cyclops eye.
He's more freaked out that everybody's smiling.
Yeah, he's more scared of the smile.
Not that they're mutated or weird, growing an extra few arms. It's that they're smiling.
You gotta imagine you've seen some really weird crap in the wasteland. So like you're finally in one of those vaults where they say monsters come out of. I guess it kind of makes sense he wouldn't be as nervous.
I think it's funny that like they're like having like total opposite things. She thinks it's weird that, you know, they're monsters, and he thinks it's weird that they're smiling.
Right, back to like they're bringing up like completely different thought processes. But yeah, the Benjamin, the overseer, is a cyclops, and he's kind of goofy, carefree. This actor's been in tons of stuff, by the way. This guy's been in like Anchorman. He's been in tons of Will Ferrell movies. Been tons of just comedies in general. He was on SNL for a while. Really funny actor, kind of goofy guy.
He's the voice of Jerry in Rick and Morty.
Yeah, he's the voice of Jerry. Yeah, you're right. He's the voice of Jerry, and then he voiced a couple other characters I'm trying to remember, but done a ton of stuff, right? So he's got one eye, and he's just talking like it's normal. No one's saying anything. No one's worried about anything. And he's just like, hey, how's it going? Like, welcome to Vault 4. Just some housekeeping, a few items. The first thing he says is, stay out of level 12, obviously. Obviously? What do you mean? These people are new. They don't know what you're doing. Why do you say, like, obviously? And then, like, stay out of level 12. What's on level 12?
Well, now you just made everybody curious.
Right? Like,
That's a trap.
right? Like, it seems very bad and trappy. What's funny is this goes right over Max's head. He doesn't even notice, but Lucy's obviously immediately intrigued. But he goes on, he's like, we got a foosball table, and like, don't worry if like we got a sign-up sheet for it. And if there's no pencils, don't worry, I have pencils. Just ask me. Just like, okay, whatever. And this is good too. He's like, if you don't know how the bathrooms work, just ask. Asking is less embarrassing than getting it wrong. Trust me. We had incident after incident with newcomers. What are they doing in the bathrooms? Like, I don't understand what you would screw up about a bathroom.
I don't know if they know how a bathroom works when most people are like uncivilized.
They gotta smell so bad.
This is definitely mistaking the sink for the toilet.
You think so? That's
I'm betting.
But like, why would you? Obviously, the seat with the hole in it is probably more likely to take your
Don't ask
poops than
questions.
the sink that's like high up off the ground. Like, you gotta hop up onto it. What? Shove the
These are wastelanders.
spout into your butt? Like, what? I don't know.
I'm not going to take anything for granted.
Right. Really funny conversation here where the overseer's just kind of telling him stuff and you're kind of just absorbing quickly because he's like point after point after point. But yeah, they're both looking at him awkwardly smiling and being like, okay, this is weird. He's got one eye and he's telling us about this crap. What's interesting here, and Too Risky mentioned this as well, it seems like the overseer's just a figurehead. He's too casual. He's too easygoing. He's kind of dopey. He's got one eye. It feels like he's a red herring, right? It definitely.
We all know how vaults are ran, and usually the ones that have a dopey overseer are ran by like someone else in the background,
right? And so like Birdie seems to have everything under control. She seems to be running stuff, but I don't know. Just an interesting point there because like there's definitely things being thrown in front of us, like the guy having one eye. That's weird. Why didn't they ask?
But what's weird about Birdie having everything under control is she's from
The
the surface from the NCR. But if you know the NCR, you know that the NCR is originally founded from a vault in the first place.
Yeah, but I mean, tons of people joined the NCR too, so I guess you could say her lineage
Correct.
came from outside of the vault still. But also with Vault 4, we found out at the very beginning of this that it's going to be full of scientists, because that was the commercial that we saw with Cooper Howard, where he says, like, there's going to be scientists in here. It seems like the Overseer with the one eye is a descendant of a bunch of scientists. So maybe they just did a bunch of weird experiments up to this point to like try and probably some radiation experiments to try and figure out how to like live in the wasteland with rads.
I mean, or just seeing how people look with one eye or gills.
Yeah, just to see how it looks like. Okay. But so Benjamin and Bertie leave. They've welcomed him into the vault, and Lucy and Max kind of played it off. And Lucy's like, "Hey, that was weird, right?" And Max is like, "Yeah, people are too nice here, right?" Lucy's like, "No, dude, like the single Cyclops eye in his forehead. That's what I'm talking about." It just was kind of funny because Max still doesn't get it. He's like not even concerned that the guy was a Cyclops. He's not concerned about the gills, the nose. And this is where they start noticing a few more people, right? A few more people walking by. There's like a lady with glowing fluorescent blue eyes. And there's like gills with the weird dangly things.
Like everybody's eating around dinner or something like that.
Yeah, and there's just a bunch of weird people with like weird stuff going on.
But they all got jumpsuits on, and it's like totally normal.
Right? Like everybody else is acting like this is totally fine. So, Vault 4, I don't trust it. And it's interesting that it started with Lucy trusts it, Max doesn't. Now we've had this next scene, and Max is more confused that everybody's happy. And Lucy's like, hold on, something's weird going on here. So they're kind of changing their perceptions there. We're going to see what happens. But that's how that scene ends. And yeah, we're in a vault, and it definitely seems like some experiments are going on.
Something sus.
All right, and we're back with the ghoul, and he's still captive by the two sheriffs. So they're marching him along. And this is where he has a flashback. And in his flashback, it's again before the bombs fell. And he's with his wife and his kids playing. And they're in a hot tub. And he's like, man, life doesn't get any better than this. And Barb's like agreeing with him. And he's all like, wouldn't it be nice to like stop working for Vault Tech and stuff? And then I could quit showbiz and we could buy a ranch up in Bakersfield and like get back to being a real cowboy. And Barb's like, okay, well, what would I do? And he's like, you could look pretty and help me raise some chickens. And I don't like that they keep mentioning the chickens because I feel like they're trying to remind us of the chicken guy from like episode 3 or whatever.
That guy was fucking my chickens.
Yeah, I feel like they keep reminding us of that, and I don't want to be reminded of that.
I thought it was a callback to like he's a ghoul, and the feral ghouls aren't supposed to like chickens.
They can't abide a chicken. There's a lot of chicken stuff going on in this show, but whatever. But yeah, so he's like, yeah, you could raise chickens. And Barb's like, no, like, what has gotten into you? Why would I do that? And she gets out of the hot tub, and immediately after she gets out of the hot tub, she like picks up her Pit Boy and is immediately messing around on it. Like she's like obsessed with this thing, right? It's just kind of interesting. But
It's like a cell phone.
right, it's like a cell phone. She immediately picks up the Pit Boy and she's all moving stuff around that. And Cooper's like, maybe I've just been reading the news too much lately, and it's got me second guessing this whole city life thing. And this is where like they kind of start getting in a little bit of a fight over like her being glued to the Pit Boy and like her working for Vault Tech. And he's like, man, you're like all over that thing. And she's like, well, we're integrating them with our Vault Tech admission system. And she's like, Bud Askin. And Cooper's like, Bud Askins. And she's like, yeah, Bud Askin, trust me, I know he sucks. Right. But like Vault Tech, she says like Vault Tech exists with or without me, which is kind of an interesting thought because she's like, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. Either I'm with them or not. And it's like, well, why is that important? Like, what are you trying to imply there? And Cooper's like, do we really want to spend our life doing 9-to-5 work with those assholes? And then she says, I need this job. It guarantees us a spot in the vaults. And Cooper's like, we got money. We can just buy our spots in the vaults. And that's when she says, one of the good vaults. And Cooper's like, what's that supposed to mean? Right? Like, what do you mean one of the good vaults? And that's when Barb realizes she's kind of like screwed up a little bit. And she's like, I'm doing what I can, okay? Just trust me, please. And Cooper's like, oh, okay. And then she walks off. But like, she's obviously knows more than she's letting on about Vault Tech, and it's kind of sus.
Wasn't he still kind of salty about not being able to bring the dog, or am I thinking about a little bit later on?
A little bit later. Like, this whole episode builds with these guys' relationship.
Okay, because I remember that so clearly as him just being so mad about something so small, and I'm like, was it this one or the next one?
I think a lot of that happened in this episode. I don't know. They start to blur together because we like watch them, then we record the one that was before, and then we like discuss the other one. Like, it's interesting. We're kind of melding all of them together because we watch them so much and talk about them. But yeah, so she walks off. She's implied that something like there's good vaults versus bad vaults, which is like we know, but Cooper doesn't, and it's very suspicious for him. So then they flash into a bar. Cooper's sitting there and he's listening to the news, and it's like, as all nations race to secure uranium and control the future of energy, a shortage has emerged, turning even allies into potential competitors. Will energy prices surge this winter, and will it lead to an expanded war? So I was trying to place, like, time-wise, where Cooper is during these scenes, right? And it's obviously, it's before the bombs fell, but it also seems like they've got plenty of time. Like, I wonder how long Vault Tech was on their campaign. Because there's no way you can build that stuff that fast, right?
That stuff being the vaults, or
Yeah, like, there's no way you could build all those vaults that quickly when, like, there's going to be a war soon. So, like, they're building those. There was negotiations, but those fell through in Anchorage. But he had already served in Anchorage when they fought earlier. So, like, he was able to fight for a while, come home and become a movie star and make dirty money, right? He's got a huge house. So, like, very interesting there. I'm wondering what the timeline is. And so this kind of says, like, before winter. Like, is it going to surge this winter? So it possibly could be, like, leading up to the bombs falling. This is him figuring some stuff out. Like, it's got to be pretty close, maybe. But remember when the vaults fell, he was, like, doing a birthday party?
it seemed like he was kind of down on his luck, maybe.
Yeah.
Like he
Like, he stopped acting?
just consider like the way the other parents were like talking about him. He wasn't like a famous movie star, so there had to be some time between now, or the scene we're at now, and then the birthday scene.
Yeah, so maybe it's, like, 2075 or something. We're, like, 2 years before the bombs fell or something, or, like, I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm trying to place where he is time-wise because that's what Fallout fans do with all this stuff. But, yeah, he's sitting at a bar, and he's listening to the news, and he's drinking a drink, and another guy walks up to him, and it's his buddy. And his name's Charlie, I think. And he's like, hey, sorry, you can't...
Charlie the commie.
Charlie the commie. And he's like, hey, why? That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. They, like, named this character Charlie, and he's kind of got communist ties. And so Cooper's kind of salty because he's like, couldn't make my party yesterday, because he's probably hoping that somebody would show up besides Vault-Tec reps. And he's like, guess you had one of your meetings. And it seems kind of already drunk here, so he's kind of a little accusatory. And he's like, one of your communist meetings? Come on, man. We watch people die together up north fighting against all that horse shit. And that's when Charlie, like, this is his, like, hey, friend, screw you. And so Charlie's like, well, okay, fine. What were we fighting for? What was the point? Right? And he's like, what do you mean? We're fighting for the American dream. We're actors. We make movies, Charlie. And which was kind of funny. Like, the American dream is to be an actor who pretends to be people that actually do stuff. But anyway. Charlie's like, yeah, the American dream has me getting shot in the ass by you all day. Because Charlie's actually a Native American. And so, like, cowboy movies, usually the Native Americans getting shot, I guess, is what they implied. And he's like, and Cooper actually says, like, hey, you got 5 acres in Tarzana. I think you're doing all right. Basically, like, screw you. You have money. Don't even whine about that crap. Charlie's like, listen, it doesn't matter. And then he says, Vault-Tec is the fucking devil, man. And Cooper's like, dude, my wife works there. Like, you really think Barb's the devil? And this is funny kind of how Charlie says, he's like, no, I like Barb, okay? It's just weird conversations. But then he asks him, he says, do you know what fiduciary responsibility means? And this is also pretty funny because Cooper's like, dude, I don't have any fucking idea. I play a cowboy for a living. Just says he's like acquired the American dream.
Stereotype of the dumb cowboy.
Right. He just plays right into the dumb cowboy. So kind of funny there. And so Charlie's like, okay, so I'll explain it to you. Basically, the US government has outsourced the survival of the human race to Vault-Tec. Vault-Tec is a private corporation. They have the fiduciary responsibility, probably butchering that, but whatever, to make money for its investors. But how does it make money? By selling vaults. And Cooper's like, well, that's just capitalism. Like, well, duh, like that's how it works. And Charlie's like, but dude, if there's peace negotiations and they go through, Vault-Tec has the fiduciary responsibility to make sure that it doesn't work out, which is a super sinister thought. This is what we talked about earlier, right? But Charlie's the one's putting it into words in front of Cooper. He's saying, dude, listen, like Vault-Tec is literally a corporation that will only get their payout, quote unquote, if they have the bombs drop. If the bombs don't drop, they don't make money. If they don't make money, they fail, right? So they want the bombs to drop. Cooper actually throws it back in his face. He says, well, how are they going to do it? And Charlie goes, I don't know. And then he puts it, so we talked about dumb cowboy, so he puts it in terms that, Cooper would get. He's like, hey, do you remember this movie where I was a generic Indian and you were a sheriff? And he's like, well, Tall Hand Mudlake could talk to horses, man. You played him with grace and dignity. It was a great role for you. But Charlie's like, okay, listen, dude, though. Morton played a rancher who owned half of Missouri. And what happens when the cattle ranchers have more power than the sheriff? And Cooper says the whole town burns. Vault-Tec is the $1 trillion company that owns half of everything. And after 10 years of war, the US government is broker than a joke. The cattle ranchers are in charge, Coop. Very interesting thing to do here, right? He kind of explains it how it's supposed to be, and then he uses something to compare it to. So if we didn't get it before, the writer has made sure whoever wrote this dialogue has done a fantastic job. I love this show.
If you're dumber than a sack of bricks, we're going to put it in cowboy
We're
terms.
going to explain it to you again, right? But he does such a good job because, like, it felt natural, though, right? Like, it didn't feel like they were repeating themselves just to repeat themselves. It felt like they had purpose, and it felt like it delivered pretty well, and we're already in the cowboy theme and stuff. So Charlie's like, well, come on, that won't happen. Or Cooper's like, that won't happen. And Charlie's like, well, unless the people do something about it. And Cooper's like, everything's a conspiracy. You sound like you're in a cult. And Charlie's like, dude, you're sitting here defending a system that's ready to set the world on fire. Maybe you're the one in the cult. Vault-Tec being kind of a cult, which I love that they keep talking about this cult stuff because it's very interesting to think about the vaults as a cult rather than like a business or like, I mean, you could even think about businesses as a cult, right? You think about churches, you think about churches as businesses, you think about businesses and churches as cults, like very interesting thought process here. Charlie at this point reaches and says like, hey, reaches into his pocket and he pulls out this card. He says, you should come to a meeting. You should learn the truth about where your wife works. And he puts the card down on the table and he pats him on the shoulder and leaves. And then we see on the card, it says Hollywood Forever, funeral home, cemetery, mausoleum, cremation. Visit for a consultation today.
Such an odd
right? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is where you should come to a meeting.
What kind of meeting y'all having?
Like, what kind of meetings are you guys having? Right? It says we're not a cult. Take this card.
Better dead than red.
It's just a weird situation. But all right, that ends that scene, and now we're back to the scene that Dab Ninja you were talking about earlier. The phone rings, and we're back in Cooper Howard's house, that badass house, and he picks up the phone. And it's like a Vault-Tec. It's just a Vault-Tec dude. He's like, "Hey, is Barb there? I need to talk to him." Blah 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 blah. And he's basically like, "No, screw you. She doesn't like taking business calls at home." Which we all know is kind of a lie, since she's immediately like just attached to her pit boy. But whatever. He hangs up on her. She doesn't know. And then they go sit down for dinner. And they start having a conversation. He asks, "Hey, where's the kid?" And, "Oh, Janie, she's reading Little House on the Prairie to Roosevelt." And Cooper says, like, "Well, is the dog enjoying it?" Which they kind of giggle, right? Like they kind of have this like playful relationship. I think the chemistry between these two is really good. Even though they kind of are tearing at the seams, is kind of like the story they're telling with these two. I think they do a great job of like, these two do have some chemistry together. And so it feels believable. right? And Barb's like, yeah, it's gonna be hard on her, that's all. And Cooper's like, what's gonna be hard on her? Like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, the no dogs in the vault thing. And Cooper's like, well, says who? Like, who's saying there's no dogs in the vault? She's like, well, it's just policy, right? Like, that's just dogs eat meat, and that's an avoidable inefficiency. And Cooper's like, oh, but that's not really what I asked, is it? Which kind of like flusters Barb a little bit. And he's like, who decided that no one gets dogs in the vault?
I mean, sure, your dog can eat meat if your dog's living in the lap of luxury, but dog food exists for a solid reason, right? And it's like a lot of that's just grain and based stuff. Like
they could make it work. So like, why? That's what is interesting here. Like, it seems just like an arbitrary rule that they just made up. They're like, no dogs in the vault.
Sounds like an excuse,
right? It sounds like something dumb, right? And especially because remember we talked earlier, the poster that he has. Cooper made a movie with his dog. Cooper loves his dog.
Isn't there a vault in Fallout 4? I want to say it's in the Far Harbor DLC where there's cats inside, and then yet again, if you go into Vault 81, a cat runs out of the vault.
Well, I mean,
y'all tell them they can have cats, but they can't have dogs.
So I guess what about mice?
I think there's probably an efficiency where they draw the line like cats are small and like maybe acceptable, but it's like you can't to me argue that.
Nah, whoever made the rule is just a cat person. Doesn't like dogs.
Yeah, that's what it was. Vault-Tec's just cat people. That sounds right.
Because to me, cats also outlive dogs by like twice their age, so it's like, yeah, technically you have to spend a lot more on the cat though, because the cat lives longer.
I don't know. They could have like, so would they have reptiles? Like, what kind of pets would they have?
Fish.
Just have pet fish.
Yeah.
Because then you can eat them.
But you got to filter the water and everything, and that's technically an inefficiency.
No, don't say that, because in Fallout 76, I have a vault. And what's in the vault? They have a fish tank built into the vault.
Sure, but Fallout 76 did a lot of stuff that's like wouldn't have happened. Because they built a lot of that game around building. And no one's out there building vaults currently after the bombs dropped.
I mean, the Sole Survivor was.
Did he?
I think how they get away with it is you never, like, there's so many vaults and each vault could be so different you don't even know what's going on.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of like, hey, make your own vault. I mean, that was the DLC in Vault in Fallout 4, right? Vault
That's what
88.
I mean by the Sole Survivor technically built a vault.
But I doubt that's canon though, right? They did a good job of making it.
Probably not, but the concept of it is there.
Well, they did a good job of making it seem kind of like it could be canon, right? Like the vault just hasn't been, messed with yet, and there's a ghoul that was like, yeah, I was supposed to get this going, but couldn't. So, like, I think it could work, kind of.
Yes,
but
one man builds a whole vault by himself.
I mean, you do a lot of other things by yourself, so.
Honest. One man.
You and dog meat, basically. But anyways, back to the dog conversation. Barb's basically like, well, this is trivial. Why do you even care? And he's like, well, I want to know who makes the rules. Like, who's in charge of Vault-Tec? Who's making these decisions that dogs aren't allowed? That's a rule. Someone decided it and didn't tell anyone. So, like, what else is going to happen? And this is actually kind of funny. He says, like, are the blue jumpsuits, like, mandatory? Like, do I have to wear a blue jumpsuit all the time? What if I want to wear a green one? And Barb's like, the mentality here is just so different because Barb's like, well, like the bombs fall and you're concerned about your wardrobe. And this is where Cooper hits the nail on the head. He says, no, I want to know about my freedom. I didn't go to war, fight people in Anchorage, just so that I could come home to live in a cellar under freaking, like, under the ground, being bossed around by Bud Askins. About those assholes from Vault-Tec. That's not why I did that. And then this is ridiculous. I hate how Barb does this, but like it works because she basically wins the argument somehow.
She just pulls I'm not trying to be even like.
No, dude, she reversed Uno cards. She literally reversed Uno cards.
I stayed at home while you were at war.
Right? She's like, well, you were at war. I was staying home, checking the mail every day, thinking that you had died. I was waiting, crying myself to sleep, imagining the worst. And it's like, well, okay, well, I was actually there, like, killing people and watching my friends die to defend your freedom. So I don't think the two really weigh the same. Like, thanks for caring, and like we need you doing that, but I don't know how she turns it around so quickly on him.
Well, also, it doesn't answer his question. She just avoided
Yeah.
answering something.
Yeah, all it did was avoid all the questions.
Well, and puts him on the defensive so that he doesn't keep pushing, right? And she's basically like, she's like, I think about like humanity and like how like 90% of the life on Earth will be wiped out. And she's like, and I come home and you're telling me about moving to Bakersfield and how like I don't even know if you're like on the same planet as me sometimes. She's like, this is once again her phrasing. She doesn't think about her phrasing because she says, when the bombs drop, a 2-hour drive ain't gonna cut it, right? When the bombs drop, not if, when.
The whole conversation, she's been saying it like it's going to be a certain.
Exactly. Which is like, she works for Vault-Tec. The bombs are a certainty to her. Why? Right? And then she says, if billions of people are going to lose their lives, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that people I love aren't among them. She goes on to say, like, I have worked hard to make sure that we go into a special vault for management where we will oversee all the other vaults. You don't get it. That's the best we could possibly hope for. That is super suspicious. Like, what do you mean? We got into one, we talked about management earlier and selling yourself as products. Like the whole episode has been going after this. And they're gonna get into a vault that manages other vaults, maybe like Vault 31.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right? Because they're kind of
Yo, that would mean the ghouls' whole thing is basically just a hellbent vendetta on where's my family.
So you think he's basically the trope from Fallout 4 and from Fallout 3?
Yeah.
They did it again!
No, because
Maybe.
Lucy's
I
the
mean, to be
trope.
fair, they already did with the whole Lucy thing. I gotta go
She's going
find
with her
my
dad.
dad.
Lucy's the trope
Dude,
from Fallout
maybe Todd
3.
was involved more than we thought. Maybe Todd just has like daddy issues.
Don't you
or
know
something.
the game was rigged from the start, bro?
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so that was a huge scene about basically lack of trust between these two. All of a sudden, he's thinking about going to this communist meeting to find out what's going on at Vault-Tec. She won't answer any of his questions. She keeps implying that the bombs are a certainty, and she's saying she's doing it to protect them, and kind of keeps putting him on the defensive about it, and telling him he's the bad guy for asking questions. So,
Here's
like,
the other thing. I just want to add, maybe if he is asking questions about this, something could happen to him. I don't know how, like,
I definitely
how
think
much surveillance Tech might be doing, but maybe she's trying to protect him from finding something out that he shouldn't.
I mean, dude, they got a pit boy in the house right next to him. Like, she's got it on at all times. Like, they're gonna be monitoring everything she says and does. She works with these people, and I think you're right. I think something's gonna happen to Cooper, and I think that's probably how he becomes a ghoul. Is they may get into that vault, and then they do a bunch of experiments on
But a
him.
man who asks questions is a man who can't be around because man asks questions and we can't have that.
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't want people asking questions for sure. So that argument kind of ends right there because she starts like kind of crying and like she basically reverse Uno'd on him and he got all defensive and he was like, oh, okay. And so they like he consoles her and then he says like, hey, I love you. I'm sorry we fought and stuff. And then they hug. And yeah, so still didn't learn anything, but she's implying everything.
I mean, one thing I could also state though, like you really love your dog, but like your dog's also not gonna live for the rest of your life either. Unfortunately.
I don't
I
think.
mean, sure, but like if it dies, then why does that matter, right? If you're bringing a dog in and you know it's going to die after a couple years, why not allow it for a couple years and then once it dies, have dog burgers?
Dog burgers.
Like, I don't know. It's terrible.
They could repurpose the dogs.
Yeah,
There could be
it's
uses.
Vault-Tec. They could do anything.
Like, you use the fur to make clothes. Use
Well,
the bones to
remember,
make tools. Use the meat for food.
or you could breed them. Remember, literally the Enclave at the beginning, they're all training dogs. So obviously,
They're incinerating dogs, not training them.
well, they trained the ones that they didn't incinerate, but yeah. They held on to some dogs somewhere at some point because those were very obviously German Shepherds and they didn't look like they had mutated. So someone was holding on to dogs somewhere and keeping them healthy.
Well, it's funny because all right, another off-topic thing. Because in Fallout 4, what do you find a lot of? Dog food. What do you eat in a lot of Fallout 3? Dog food. Dog food. Dog food.
I don't remember finding any dog food in Fallout 3.
Dude, dog food's like everywhere.
I thought you found.
It's
Fallout
either
4, yes, not Fallout 3.
Maybe that's more in the pit. I think you find it.
Either way, the wasteland has a lot of dog food around because all the dogs died apparently because they weren't allowed in the vaults.
There's a super mutant that goes around Fallout 4 selling super mutant hounds.
Yeah, that's how you get Gracie.
And there's also some dude who sells regular dogs, too.
Yep, I got those dogs too. I actually logged back into my save for Fallout 4, like my level 91, and it has like I had like all the dogs. I had like I think there's like 4 or 5 you can get.
Yeah, that was before Creation Club put in like the thing where it puts in actual breeds of dogs.
Yeah. No, these were like base game dogs. But back to Lucy and Max. And we're actually just with Lucy first. She's sitting in the overseer's office, the Cyclops dude, and he's telling her how the toilets work. Which is just kind of a funny callback to them being like, no one knows how to use these things. She's like, I know that. I'm also from a vault. Like, we're fine. I get how a toilet works. And he's like, oh, great. And he pulls out a folder and he says, like, oh, it says here that your name's Goosey McLean. And she's like, no, it's not Goosey, it's Lucy. And he puts his glasses on, which are made for 2 eyes, by the way. And he looks down the paper and he goes, nope, it says your name's Goosey.
This guy does not seem like a scientist.
It just seems like he's screwing with her to screw with her. Like, I don't know. And then he goes, but hey, natural born vault dweller, you don't see that every day. We're kind of a dying breed. And they make small talk, and she's like, oh, you're from here? And he's like, yep, 5 generations and proud of it. And she's like, oh, I just thought because, like, she's trying to kind of breach the topic of the fact that he's a Cyclops, because people seem to be refugees from the surface. And he's like, oh, yeah, these people, am I right? And then he takes a drink. This is what we saw in the trailer. He takes a drink of his coffee, and then he immediately spits it out. And he says, like, that's a moldy one? Which is like, what do you mean? What? The coffee's a moldy one? They kind of gloss over this because she says, like, what do you mean by that? But I think she's talking about him saying, like, these people, am I right? When he talks about the vault dwellers. But why don't they say anything about all the weird stuff? Why don't they just bring up the fact that he has a Cyclops? Why don't they bring up the fact that he's drinking moldy coffee? It's just frustrating.
Well, it's because she's from the vault, where like that's probably considered rude.
It's respectable.
Yeah, you're not supposed to point out things that are different.
Judge people.
Yeah, or judge people. Yeah.
Which is funny because this guy immediately goes like, well, you won't find anybody more open-minded than me, but they're all smelly and they're kind of weird ideas, and like, you're from a vault, you get it. And she's like, what do you mean? Like, if you don't like these surface people, why do you keep taking them in? And he's like, it's a policy before my time, which is interesting. Do you think this vault started with the intention of like, hey, after the bombs fall, you're supposed to get people to come in and integrate with your vault? Or do you think that that was an overseer from later that probably made that decision to keep their vault going?
I think also depends on the overseer, because like we've met a lot of overseers where policies have definitely changed, and like stuff like that, like policies can change all the time.
Well, and with the fact that they control all the information, you can just erase old information so that people think that that's always been how the policies are. Right?
Well, that hospital trapdoor seems like it's been there for a while.
Yeah, right, before the bombs fell. So
I think it's been there for a minute.
I think you're right. I think the policy's probably from the beginning, which is just kind of weird. But I guess we'll find out why. Anyway, so he keeps ripping on him, and he's like, yeah, if you want to get elected overseer, you got to respect their traditions. You can't call them surfies. It's awful. Surfies. He's like, you don't take any surface dwellers in your vault? And Lucy's like, no. He acts all excited. He's like, oh, what's that like? Like, you don't have to take in these. Like, he seems very adamant against the people that are just in his vault. And he's the overseer.
You're like, oh, you guys don't help people? Oh, dude, that's sweet.
Right? Like,
it's like,
what?
It's like, my guy, you're helping people. It's like, yeah, it's kind of crap.
Yeah, it's just a weird. And Lucy's like, well, you're like really a good person. Like, you guys are taking, like, I saw Shady Sands. It's a crater. Like, it's insane that that place was just destroyed in an incident. And he's like, that was a tragedy. We took the share of them in and gave them a home because it's what we do. But you can't make a funny joke about it without offending these guys. I mean, one funny joke I told maybe 10 times. Like, wait, what? And she's like, what was the joke? And he's like, I forget. All I know it was a huge bomb. Pretty good, right? And Lucy's like, looks confused, and he's like, oh, she doesn't get it. Like, he's like, she's stupid because she doesn't get my joke about the bombs. It just doesn't make sense. He's the worst. I really don't like him.
I thought he was implying more something of it.
Right? You think that they dropped the bomb? Like, you think he's implying Vault-Tec dropped the bomb?
Well, the vault setup, it needs test subjects. You bomb an area, where are the test subjects, or where are the people gonna go? Not all of them, but some of them are gonna go
To a
over
hospital
the
and
vault.
look for medical supplies and fall into a hole?
Yep.
Possibly. I think they're implying, like, honestly, as much as I want this to be about the courier making the decision to blow up the NCR, or like even the Brotherhood being the ones that do it, I kind of think that it's just going to be Vault-Tec. That's interesting, but at the same time, I don't like it. And I'll kind of tell you why I think it's Vault-Tec. Not only this, but there's some more stuff that they kind of imply that Vault-Tec was the one that bombed them. But then she asks him, she says, so what's on Vault 12? What's on level 12, and why can't I go there? And as soon as she mentions that, he changes. He's like, we don't talk about that. What's the matter with you? And she's all like, sorry. He's like, no, you need to get out of here. Go on. Goodbye, Goosey. Still calls her Goosey. He's like, skidad.
I like how he gets so serious, though.
Right? Like, immediate tone change. Like, obviously, you don't talk about, like, level 12. That's, no, bad. Bad.
It's almost the same as like back in the day with Harry Potter. You don't say Voldemort. We don't do that.
You don't say that. You don't say that.
You don't say that.
But yeah, so she leaves, and she's kind of stunned because he completely changed. But then we flash to Max, and he's looking at his power armor, and it's like it looks like a little armory maybe, but he's just looking at it through a window, and he's all happy because his power armor's there, and it's like he feels safer, right, because it's there and stuff. Doesn't ask how they found it or how they got it or whatever. And it's still missing a fusion core. And this is when Max sees one of the Vault 4 guys replacing a light bulb. And as soon as the light bulb flickers on, Max seems to have an idea. Kind of interesting symbolism here, right? Like, as soon as the light bulb turns on, Max has an idea. And the idea is, where's the power coming from? And then it cuts to a scene where he's down in the power generator room. And he's walking around the machinery, and he finds a fusion core. And he's about to push some buttons and grab the core when Birdie walks back in. And she goes, I see you found our fusion core. How are we adjusting to life down here? And Max goes, does it matter? I'm leaving soon. And she doesn't say anything. And he goes, aren't I? Like, I'm leaving soon, right? Like, you're not holding me here against my will, right? And she just kind of ignores that. And she's like, some people don't, like, they have a hard time adjusting to finally feel safe. She's like, I get it. Like, survival is still fresh on your mind, and trust doesn't come easy with those with a guilty conscience. Which is also an interesting point. Like, why is she implying that he has a guilty conscience? Like, she knows he's lying about all the stuff he said to Lucy, right? And he definitely does have a guilty conscience, but I don't know.
How does she know that?
Right?
I
How
think
does
it's more referencing that everybody in the wasteland has to do stuff that they're probably not proud of to survive.
True.
So everybody up there has probably done something wrong.
True. I guess it could be that. I don't know. I just keep having the feeling that this Vault 4 is doing a lot more watching of the wasteland than we realize.
Well, here's an idea. Didn't Birdie say she's from Shady Sands?
Yep.
Max is also from Shady Sands. And I'm not saying they might have, like, somehow possibly known each other.
Well, Max probably didn't. He was a kid, at least. If he knew her, he maybe didn't know her, right?
Exactly. Or, like, she could have at least known that somehow he joined up with the Brotherhood of Steel prior to, like, her joining the Vault or something. Or, like, she could possibly know that the Brotherhood of Steel came to investigate Shady Sands.
Shady Sands after the bombs fell.
Exactly.
One side note, Fallout always has like a bunch of people who like know you guys, and then like you have no idea who these people are, but they seem to really always know you.
Well, it's been Lucy's whole story, right? Everybody seems to know something about her and her family, but her. So, yeah, it's frustrating because we're with Lucy. We don't know anything. But then, okay, so after she implies the guilty conscience, she says, here. And she hands him a Pip-Boy, and it says Unit 428. Now, interesting point here. Too Risky also noticed this as well. She told me, like, hey, check this out. Did you know in the first scene, when Cooper Howard's filming his advert, he actually walks into the Unit 429? So it's like the unit right across the hall from where Max is the one where they filmed the commercial, which I don't know, it's kind of interesting. They keep tying everything back to that commercial and like how they're connected and everything. So kind of interesting. But she gives him a Pip-Boy, 428, and says, go sleep in your own room tonight. Have a hot shower. There's nothing wrong with a bit of comfort. And Max takes the Pip-Boy and kind of looks at it for a minute and switches to the next scene, which is Max going to find his apartment. So she convinced him. Obviously, he wasn't just going to rip out the power thing there, the power core there. So he just, or fusion core there, sorry. And he's like, okay, I'll go check out this apartment.
I thought he said somewhere in that scene where it's like, I thought he said, what's a hot shower?
Yeah, you're right. He does. He says, like, what's a hot shower? Because she says to have a hot shower. And he's like, what is this hot shower thing? Like, what are you talking about? But anyway, so then he's going to find his hot shower, like to figure out what that is. And as he's walking there, everybody that's like walking past him or like doing stuff is like super happy and smiling. They're playing foosball. There's like a guy that just overly smiles at him as he walks past him. And he just looks kind of confused. And he finds his apartment number. He uses the Pip-Boy, opens the door, goes in, and there's like a gift basket on the table, and it says like, welcome home, Birdie and all your friends in Vault 4. So Birdie didn't answer the question that like, yeah, you're leaving soon, and also pushed him into a room that says basically welcome home, like you're staying here kind of deal, like this is your new home. So obviously Vault 4 is planning on keeping these people. And he sees sugar bombs, caviar, cram, oysters, mixed nuts, Blamco mac and cheese, deviled eggs. There's a couple drinks or something. He's just kind of fascinated by everything. And there's even a TV, and it's actually showing the lower Yellowstone Falls. And it's like just a video of those falls. And it's like playing some music and stuff. And he's just fascinated because I don't think he's ever seen like a TV work like that before. Right? At most, he's probably seen maybe Brotherhood TVs that are like tactical, right? So they're probably using them for other things. But obviously, TVs are kind of used though because those two raiders that were like harvesting the ghoul organs were watching TV and they were watching movies and stuff. So,
which honestly, it seemed like they were kind of just stoned on jet watching TV.
Yeah, they were definitely just chilling there, high as a kite, just watching TV. Not too bad for the Wasteland. Probably one of the best things to be able to do. Except for when, people show up and start shooting everybody up and then release all your feral ghouls to eat you. That's not great. But the rest of it was nice. So he then takes a shower. Max takes a shower and he looks like he's really enjoying his hot shower. He's probably never had a hot shower before in his life. So he's enjoying that. He gets out, he puts on a robe and slippers, and he's like kind of living the high life here, right? And he's like looking through the gift box. And he like picks up the caviar and he like sticks his fingers in it and like tries some. And then he like they cut to outside his room and he like comes out of his room and he's like, "Excuse me," at some random dude walking by. And he's like, he just seems baffled almost, or like in disbelief. And
it's like, what is
right?
this?
He's like, what is this? It's just kind of funny. Like he's like, what the crap is caviar? Like, what am I eating? And so obviously Max is kind of settling in. He likes what's going on. He likes the food. He likes the hot shower. He likes kind of the pampering. He's enjoying himself.
He's starting to get it.
That's why I say so bad. I can get used to living here.
Yeah, he's starting to get used to, why Lucy likes the vaults.
Right? The feeling of safety, nice people, food. Seems safe,
I was gonna
easy.
say, you walk outside, and the most insane thing that happened today is someone had like Gary broke the foosball table, and it's like out in the wasteland, and you're fighting to survive, man.
Right? He got shot by a guy with tooth ammo. Like, little extreme, right? And he's only known that life. So, very interesting there. Flashes back to Lucy, and she's entering a classroom. And she looks on the classroom, and she seems to like it, right? And she and Steph apparently taught elementary together before everything went down, like before the Raiders killed everybody and started the whole series. But so she's like classroom, kind of familiar, right? She loves learning, she loves books, and on the chalkboard is written "Remember Shady Sands." Really well, like Tourisky actually put some commentary in here. It's kind of funny. She says there's very well done drawings of different buildings. There's a courthouse, a library, a trolley. There's even a mini paper model of the town on the desk. And she looks at the chalkboard, and this kind of gives us a little bit of the history of Shady Sands. So the bombs dropped. Keep this in mind. Bombs dropped 2077, right? So Shady Sands is founded in 2142. The NCR is created in 2189. Shady Sands becomes the capital of the NCR in 2198. In 2241, so we're talking almost like 100 years after Shady Sands was founded, the NCR is now the largest economic and political power in California. So they've taken over quite a bit. They control a lot of California. Seems kind of like civilization's coming back. And then 2277, the fall of Shady Sands. Bombs drops in 2077. Shady Sands bomb drops in 2277.
It's like an anniversary.
200 years later, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, Vault Tech would be somebody to do that, right?
There's something.
They dropped the bombs in 2077.
They like numbers.
They like numbers. 200 years later, drop the bombs on Shady Sands.
Which is pretty much California again.
Yeah, So now we're screwed because there's no huge power. The only huge power that we knew of that was like contesting the NCR at the time was like they already defeated the Enclave. They already killed the Master of the Super Mutants, so they weren't really a big power. You've got Necropolis, but they were sorely weakened by the Super Mutant War. So then that leaves Caesar's Legion, which
we don't have definitive answer.
We don't know what
as of
happened
right now in the settings of Fallout, the show.
Exactly. So we don't really know what canon ending from New Vegas has happened yet. Maybe we'll find
They
out.
did suffer a massive blow during the Battle of Helios 1. Like, they still won, but they did suffer, a massive blow.
Losses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking too. Is you got the Brotherhood as well. They're a faction, and they're showing up in force, right? We're seeing them with the Pridwin, which was all the way on the East Coast.
Which makes me think they would only withdraw the Pridwin from the East Coast if they deemed it safe. Which makes me think, did the Brotherhood fully establish a chapter over there? Or did they make an agreement with, like, the Minutemen? And, kind of, like,
Possibly.
work alongside the Minutemen on the East Coast?
I don't see why you wouldn't, right? The Minutemen are trying to do some rebuilding stuff. They're not like holding on to all the technology, really. They're just trying to
No,
survive.
they just want the settlements to be, essentially being able to defend themselves.
So, and then there's the whole problem of all the synths too, right? It's very interesting because the Brotherhood's like synths are abomination and they'll kill them too, right? Like they don't like synths. So, very interesting. I'm very curious as to see what happened lore wise, and the implication that Vault-Tec was the one that's dropping the bombs is kind of interesting. And like, how much does the Brotherhood know? Why would they bring the Pridwin over here? What happened to Caesar's Legion? Who has Helios 1 right now? Because that is a major weapon to have, especially in this time. So,
especially if they know the secrets about Helios 1.
like, the NCR has it, technically. So,
yes, the NCR has it, but they're oblivious to the Archimedes 2 laser that can be programmed via Helios.
It's almost though like you can't your big toy's pretty worthless if the thing that drives it's this little tiny key that is somewhere lost in the wasteland, kind of like a Mr. House scenario where it's like that little chip is literally what kept them stalled all that time. Archimedes is kind of the same thing. It's just a little gun to a bigger key.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, the courier
easier
can find
to
it.
lose.
Courier can find anything.
He found it from some kid, though. That's what I'm. That's like.
Either
Dude,
you buy it from the kid or you straight up steal it from him while he's sleeping.
dude, what if the kid accidentally like somehow activated it and like just blew up New Vic? It's
No,
just
see, and I've always had an evil
bang, bang, bang,
thought of
bang, bang.
activating it while the kid still has it, just to see what
Like,
happens.
if he bang, 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 like bang. Oh no.
Vaporizes his friend.
Right, and that's how the Kings were ended. Jeez. But yeah, so back to Lucy, and she's like, she sees a flag and she pulls it out, and this is where they do the good, like, Fallout music, boom, 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 and it's the new California Republic flag, the bear with the two heads. So kind of cool. I kind of like that. And what breaks her, like, looking at all this stuff in the classroom is like all of a sudden people are running around outside in the hallway and they're going, it's almost starting, yada yada yada. And Lucy's like, oh, what's almost starting? And so she goes out and she actually stops someone. She says, hey, like, what's going on? And it's the scientist, I'm pretty sure, with the nose on his forehead, which is like, still don't know why. No one's asked any questions, whatever. And he says,
Nobody knows.
right, nobody knows. God, that was terrible. He says, like, it's a surface dweller tradition. It can get too rambunctious for my taste. And then he moves on. One of the people walking by, they invite her to come along to their thing, and Lucy says, sure. And they move off down the hallway. And that's how that scene's end. We flash away from Lucy. And we're back with the ghoul. So the sheriff dudes were trekking with the ghoul through the desert. He had his flashback in the last scene that we had with him. And we're kind of in a new place we don't recognize. Seems kind of out in the middle of nowhere. A little bit of like a western ghost town or something. And there's a sign that's been painted over this little building. And it says the Govermint, spelled M-I-N-T. Kind of funny there. The Govermint. They go into this kind of like saloon looking thing. There's a bunch of wanted posters on the wall. And this is where we meet Sorrel, who is a character that the ghouls met before. And he goes like, well, shit. And the ghoul's like, well, why isn't it Sorrel Booker? And one of the sheriffs grabs the ghoul by the elbow and drags him over the table and like throws him down at the table. And Sorrel's like, I heard a ghoul like fucked up that super duper mark, but nobody told me it was the ghoul, which is kind of interesting because it's like, he's the ghoul. Like if you talk about a ghoul, this guy's been around 200 years and seems to be known in certain circles. But this was also a really gross part, and I kind of want your guys' opinions on what was happening here, but also at the same time I don't, because Sorrel's spitting out things, like he's eating something, like looks like meat, and he's spitting things out into a metal tin that's labeled cyst, and it's like written in blood. It's just kind of gross. Like, is he eating cysts? Does he have cysts in his mouth? Why is he spitting them out?
Is he eating meat with cysts on them and
yeah, is it just to be
out the cysts?
Is it just to be gross? I don't know.
Is he eating that ghoul meat?
That ass jerky? I don't know.
No, those ghoul organs.
He's eating. Right, that's a good point. What if he's eating the ghoul organs? So maybe it's not to replace people's organs. Maybe it's a delicacy to eat.
I think it's still the same problem with the radiation, but
I'd agree with you.
Okay, but homie, radiation's like touched everything and everything's tainted, so they're kind of screwed regardless.
Well, they got Radaway, right? So like technically, these people probably have built up a tolerance to a bit of radiation. So maybe
a little rads won't kill you.
I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know what they're doing with the organs. I need to know. I hope they'll tell me. They probably won't, but whatever. So, yeah. So Sorrel knows him. He's like, "Do you guys even?" Sorrel's talking to his sheriffs. He's like, "Do you guys even know who you brought in? This is the best bounty hunter to ever shoot a man in the ass." he's like, kids these days don't know their history. Like, and the ghoul asks randomly. He says, "Hey, do you got a needle and thread?" And one of the sheriffs says, "No, we don't do a lot of knitting around here." And the ghoul's like, "Actually, it's called sewing." Like, he's like, "I think I got some in my bag." And Sorrel says it kind of gives Troy the nod, who's the sheriff. He says, like, "Yeah, go ahead, grab it out of his bag or whatever and give it to him." And so the sheriff grabs it and throws it onto the table, and it unrolls, and we see a needle and a thread and a finger. And it's Lucy's finger that he chopped off. So he didn't throw it away or anything. He didn't eat it. He didn't get rid of it. He had it. He held on to it. And he's got a sewing kit. And he says, "Would you mind?" And he like holds up his wrist because he's tied. And Sorrel doesn't move for a second. And the ghoul's like, "Dude, like, come on, we're friends, ain't we?" And Sorrel's like, "Okay." And he cuts the rope that's held the ghoul together.
Pardon my French, but this motherfucker chopped off her finger, made her get a new finger, and decides, oh, I'm going to keep hers and reattach it to my hand.
Well, he didn't want the rotten one.
The audacity of this dude.
Dude, it's so badass. It's like he planned the whole thing out. He's like, all right, you bit my finger. I'll replace it with your finger. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated, right? Interesting, though. So he starts sewing on the finger onto his stump. Very interesting. And it's like, it's just weird. But they start talking more. And Sorrel's like, I don't get why you're still alive. Like 200 years, long time. Maybe you just like the California sun. Or maybe you're looking for her. He's like, well, you know what? And that's kind of, we get a little bit of reaction out of the ghoul there because he like looks up when he says looking for her. I think her's going to be his wife, is what they're implying.
I think he's always been looking for her.
Right. So like something happened. Like we got to know what happened, and they'll probably tell us. But I'm excited, right? Like I like the ghoul story because I'm interested in what happened. But
it could also be his daughter, right?
True, it could be his daughter. And I mean, the ghoul even like rips. It's funny because the ghoul rips the guy here, and he says like, "Hey, I'll tell you one thing. Like, there's one reason that I can cross off the list for you as to why I'm still alive, and it's not here to have stupid conversations with dipshits like you." And that's when the sheriff like hits him on the head. He's like, "Mind your mouth. That's the president of the government you're talking to." And Ghoul's like, "Oh, so you're president now, right?" And like Sorrel's basically like, "Yeah, why not? Like nobody else is doing anything. I can be in charge, right? The NCR's gone. I can be president of whatever I want to be." And Ghoul's like, "You might want to hire a new publicist because this is the first I'm hearing about this outfit, and I'm hearing about a whole lot of chatter about some woman named Moldaver." And so he brings up Moldaver, which is kind of interesting here. Sorrel spits out a bone or a cyst or whatever he's doing, and he says like they call her the Flame Mother, which is like, what the crap, the Flame Mother? It reminds me of what are those?
Reminds me of a cult.
It reminds me of a cult. But remember in Fallout 4, those guys that were like in the factory where they had like the molten lava stuff, and they'd make people like step into it.
You mean the Forge?
The Forge, yeah. Those guys, do you remember those guys that all like worship like the Forge and basically throw people into the Forge and like melt people? It's pretty bad, but yeah, that's kind of what that reminded me of when they said the Flame Mother.
Off topic, it reminded me of the Firehawk in Borderlands and all the people that worship her and set people on fire.
Yeah, right? Same kind of mentality. So like, what are these people that call her the Flame Mother, and why do they call her Mother, right? Like something's weird going
I
on.
mean, mother tends to mean something that you worship.
Yeah, you worship
Like you're not like night mother.
Night Mother, Night Mother, Night Mother, right? So she's called the Flame Mother. Interesting. Sorrel even says like, "Hey, she's dangerous," and the ghoul's like, "Well, being in charge means you have to be dangerous. Like, it's kind of a prerequisite." Notice also the ghoul talks very much like he is from Before the Bombs Fall. He's talking about publicists. He's saying funny things about ice cream socials. He's saying the words prerequisite. Do you think this guy has ever heard the word prerequisite? Right? Like,
or even knows what an ice cream social is.
Exactly, right?
Or
So
even
he
knows what
a
ice
publicist,
cream is.
right? They definitely don't, and if they do, it's got to be the most disgustingly preserved ice
Perfectly
cream you've ever
preserved
seen.
ice cream.
Or it's freezer burnt beyond belief.
Yeah,
Well,
just
they just make it from the Brahmins,
true,
right?
but I don't.
You'd have to know someone who knows how to make ice cream.
Well, technically, ice cream's not terribly hard to make, but
My man,
No, but you know, people are dumb.
the only refrigeration I've seen in the Fallout universe has been cryopods for human beings.
He's not wrong.
Maybe somebody put some ice cream in there.
or maybe you know how Shady Sands was actually from a vault. They could have had the knowledge of ice cream,
Bruh.
and it was destroyed when the NCR was bombed.
They've got Jello
Which means
in.
hypothetically, with that knowledge, they can make Brahmin burgers and fries, and they could have had their own McDonald's.
Sure.
Why not?
Nick did bring up
Nick
a point. They had
Brahms.
Jello. They got Jello.
They got Jello. But yeah, Sorrel finally gets to the point. He's like, okay, you know why you were brought in, right? Like, you know why you're here? He's like, well, because I fucked up a poor defenseless gang-affiliated organ dealership. And Sorrel's like, yep. Now, what's interesting about this is the Ghoul didn't. The Ghoul was not the one who messed up that facility. He did take all the drugs, but he didn't kill the guys and ruin everything. That was Lucy.
Yeah.
So why does he take the fall for this?
I think he knows it doesn't matter. If he said somebody else did it, they either wouldn't believe him or they would just blame it on him because they need to make somebody look like,
I mean,
you know,
he was there.
like they're protecting the business. Yeah.
Right. And like they'd probably assume he lied if he said it wasn't him.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think maybe it doesn't matter, but maybe at the same time the Ghoul's like, Lucy basically let me have the drugs and like didn't kill me or leave me to die, so they don't need to know she exists. Why put them on her trail? She doesn't need that. Maybe something's changing in the Ghoul. Maybe he's a little bit nicer about something.
An eye for an eye.
As he sews her finger onto his hand. But anyway, Sorrel's like, listen, I've always liked you. And the Ghoul's like, I like you too. Like, he's like, well, ain't that sweet? But the problem is you gutted something under our protection and we can't let you go free because then people lose faith in us and that really changes what I'm trying to do here. And the Ghoul's like, I get it. Anarchy in the streets. You got anything to say in your defense? And the Ghoul says, no, I'm guilty as charged. And Sorrel's like, okay, that was easy, right? Like, don't have to do anything. And the Ghoul finally finishes sewing his finger and he's wiggling it around, which is just gross, but whatever. He's like, do you need any more evidence? I just shot up Philly. I must have killed 9 or 10 people. And that's when one of the sheriffs says, my daddy lives in Philly. And the Ghoul goes, not anymore, unless he's a coward. Which is kind of like, damn.
He's got such good dialogue.
Right?
Well, either way, that's intimidating because he's like, well, my dad's not a coward. So if your dad's not a coward, then
he's dead.
Sacrifice.
Right?
Then he's dead.
Right? So like he's like, either he's dead or he's a coward. And either way, the guy's pissed off, right? Like he traps him. And Sorrel's like, yo, dude, sheriff, don't take the bait. Like, chill out. And the Ghoul's like, dude, I'm not fishing. I'm just trying to game this out. Like, in my experience, the apple tends not to fall too far from the tree. And then he turns to him and he says, like, so sheriff, which is Troy or whatever, he's like, so is that true in your case? And he's like, my daddy ain't no coward. And he's like, well, I guess the only question then is, are you a coward? And Sorrel's like, dude, put your gun away. Like, don't be tempted by this crap. Like, he's obviously goading you. And he tells the other sheriff, because there's 2 of them, right? He says, take away his guns. And so the other sheriff like takes the guns away from the one that's like pointing them at the Ghoul. It's just kind of like a funny instance. Like, why is he pushing him and goading him so hard? Just because he can. But
he knows he's like, he wants him to do something.
Right, he wants him to do something, which is interesting. But anyway, so he's like, that's very presidential of you. Like, and Sorrel's like response to the Ghoul telling him his presidential is, take him out back and feed him to the pigs. Damn. And this is probably, I thought this was pretty badass. Upon second watch, there's some weird stuff about here. So I'll just describe it and then I'll point out what's weird. So he stands up and he turns around and they're about to take him out and they're about to put handcuffs on him. And you hear the first handcuff click. And that's when the Ghoul like headbutts Troy, which is the one sheriff, then grabs Rex's gun because Rex is holding too many guns now, shoots Troy in the chest and then the groin. Then he grabs the other gun and shoots the other sheriff who hasn't responded in time. And now he's holding 2 guns and he just rockets bullets into them while they're on the ground. But I thought it was funny. He shoots him in the chest and the groin. Now, he's killed the 2 sheriffs, right? So it's just him and Sorrel and he has the guns now. What's interesting about this is they do some movie magic here. You hear the handcuffs click over one of his wrists. Yet when they flash to the shot of him shooting the 2 guys, you don't see any handcuffs hanging from his wrist. They clicked him on, but they didn't actually get him on or something.
I think you can slip your hand out of the 1 click, but the 2 clicks is too tight.
Well, I guess it depends on if he did get it on. It's like a nitpick thing. It's not really dumb or anything. Like, it'd be interesting if it like was just hanging there. It'd be more canonical or like it'd make more sense, but it's fine. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But that was the one weird thing I noticed about that. Otherwise, I loved that the ghoul was so badass. He just kills those guys. And Sorrel's only response is, God damn it. Just like, dang it, you killed my guys.
Now I gotta get more.
Now I gotta go get more minions. And the ghoul doesn't turn around and immediately shoot Sorrel. He just says, like, hey, I got one question for you. Why do you have a picture on your wall? Like, why do you have this picture on your wall? And Sorrel says, dude, that's Moldaver. Why do you ask? And he's like, really? I just remember her a little different, is all. How do you remember her? And then the ghoul kind of is just staring at Sorrel, and the scene ends. So, pretty quick. Ghoul's taken back in charge. He seems fine. This guy seems to get out of some of the worst possible scenarios, right? Fights a man. First off, when we met the ghoul, he was buried alive, just living because they had an IV stuck in him. Gets out of that, kills all those 3 guys. Then he gets into a fight with a guy in power armor and literally gets yeeted across the town and beat up, shot multiple times, is fine. Is tracking down a girl, gets his finger bit off, doesn't care, takes her finger, is fine. Almost dies from the drugs that he needs, gets those back. Like, he's got to have a high luck skill. Like, not only is his perception and agility high, but he's definitely got to have a high luck skill.
Well, as the, representative of Vault Boy, I'm pretty sure he's got pretty solid stats.
Well, and he was a cowboy, and he was a soldier, so...
And he's also lived 200 years. He's probably seen some stuff.
Right, his intelligence has got to be pretty high too, right? I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Gets out of another scrape, and he's looking for Moldaver, which is like, why is he looking for Moldaver? Why would the ghoul care?
Seen before, apparently.
Yeah, he knows her from something. We don't know,
but didn't know her as Moldaver.
Yeah, right. Because he's like, it doesn't look like who I remembered her as. So it's just very weird conversation. Very weird stuff going on there. But
well, I like how he says, like, why do you have a picture of her? Like
he knows. Yeah.
Like, who's her? Like, what are we missing here?
Well, and the other thing is, like, okay, so we implied before, he said, like, you're looking for her. Sorrel said that to him earlier.
Yeah.
Could he be referencing Moldaver instead of... Well, because then he asks him about Moldaver.
What made me wonder, like, if Moldaver was, like, his wife. I'm like, no, she's too different.
She's too different.
Yeah. But he calls her, like, he really knows that woman, like, really well.
Right, so is he looking for Moldaver? Like, because now it seems like he is. But before, was he mentioning that he was looking for somebody else? Like, are they trying to throw us off the scent of the first thing? That, like, I bet you they're going to try and shock factor us and that his wife is alive and fine somewhere. I don't know. Kind of interested in what's going on there. But now, this scene actually transitions perfectly because Sorrel says, like, well, how do you remember her? And it immediately flashes to modern day. Or I guess before the bombs fell. I keep saying modern day back and forth. But anyway. And we're at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. So that card that Charlie gave Cooper at his house, remember? Or at the bar, sorry. It's got the thing that said, like, the mortician and cemetery and stuff like that. So we're there, which means Cooper decided to go there. Now, we talked about the cars earlier, and I just want to make a point here because Cooper drives the coolest, like, convertible ever. He pulls up in his convertible, and the door actually, like, slides into the front of the car, right? And he gets out and slides the door back, so it's not like a wing open door. It's like a cool sliding door. I don't know. The cars are just so cool in this series. I love them. I hope we come back to some of the 50 style cars, a little bit more retro, futuristic looking. I don't think we will. I think everything's going to be like a square box. It's going to be boring. But I don't know. We'll see. Technically, it shouldn't matter. We're not using steel anymore. We're using plastic bodies. Cars could be anything, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they shape cars for fuel efficiency, but if everything goes
with electric, that doesn't matter, right? Like, I guess you technically still would want, like, least amount of wind resistance, but, like, they kind of did that with the 50s designs. But anyway, the car door was cool. It was slid open and stuff. Just thought I'd mention that because we like cars here. But he goes into the Hollywood Forever Cemetery and he's kind of looking around. He's, like, smoking a cigarette and he's, like, kind of trying to figure out what's going on here. This next scene, by the way, this is going to be kind of weird to explain because they do both of these scenes for the final, like climax of the show. It flashes back and forth between Lucy and Cooper. in modern times versus after the bombs fell, before the bombs fell kind of deal. So bear with me. It might be a little bit confusing. So that's the first scene, and he's walking around and he's looking for something. It flashes to Lucy. Lucy's entering the courtyard. Remember, she's going to this event, right? And everyone's removing their pit boys, placing them on a bench. And so she does the same thing. People seem very excited. She kind of sees like a shrine in the middle of like the crowd. The lights are dimming. They're all lighting candles on that shrine. They're kind of excited, right? And the lights are turning off. And then it switches back to Cooper again. And he's looking at the card Charlie gave him. He like flicks the card and it says, he turns it over and he reads the back and it says, meet here at 4 p.m. And then he starts walking up the stairs. And this switches back to the vault with Lucy. And the vault's very dimly lit. The residents are standing near kind of like the altar, right? And some are swaying with their eyes closed. And they're like lifting their hands gently up and down and like going, like making like some weird steamy sounds.
This whole scene's just
It's
weird.
just weird, right?
noises.
We talked about Colty, right? What were you saying, Snick?
I said they were making snake noises.
Yeah, they were going making the snakes noises, and she starts kind of doing it with them. Like she's kind of, she's willing to try things, and it flashes back to Cooper. He's reaching the top of the stairs, and he spots a group of people, and he's kind of, his indecision here is kind of showing. He's like, should I be meeting with these people? Like they're supposed to be communists, is what we're talking against. These people are going to tell me about my wife's job. Like he's obviously like considering what's going on, right? And the whole time there's like music building and it's kind of like the tensions building of the scenes. Done very well here. Back to Lucy, and she's looking around at these community members of Vault 4. And this is where it starts getting weird because it was weird before, but like they start all unzipping their jumpsuits and they're all naked under their jumpsuits. And then they start taking their jumpsuits off and they're still going and stuff and like being kind of naked, and Lucy like kind of unzips like a little bit but like stops, and then she kind of looks like nervous or like uncomfortable. She's just kind of like watching everybody doing what they're doing. And then we switch back to Cooper, and he's in the Hollywood Forever building, and Charlie shows up, his friend from the bar earlier, and he says like, thanks for coming, Cooper. Like, and he's like, yeah, we'll see if I'll stay. And Charlie's like, listen, dude, like you'll stay. Like this is stuff you want to know. Once again, back to Vault 4. And we're with Lucy again. And Birdie shows up. And she's approaching the altar. And she's dressed in like a tan, like tunic thing. And she's like got a candle. And she's using it to light some braziers and stuff. Not braziers. Not the clothing. She's just lighting up some like torches and stuff. It's really culty. And this is when she says, Flame Mother, we remember. Now, I don't know why I missed the Flame Mother in the scene before when I watched it the first time, but like now seeing it the second time, right? They're talking about Moldaver, who they said was the Flame Mother, which is kind of weird, right? It didn't really click for me, but everybody around there starts like mimicking what she's saying. Flame Mother, we remember. And she says, we bring back the past. We bring back the past. As we remember, we bring back Shady Sands. And everyone's kind of like passing around this dish and they're wiping like gray powder across their foreheads. And then right when we bring back Shady Sands, right when she says that, Lucy's actually putting it on her forehead. And she's like, we bring back, we take the people that were taken from us by covering ourselves in their ashes. Which is kind of like, ooh, Lucy's like, oh, I just wiped their ashes on me, and like hands the bowl there, and she's all like grossed out about it. Also, you can see in this scene, Lucy's like rotten fingers still there. So that's kind of, but like, anyway. So she's kind of like, and then they say, to bring back Shady Sands, blood must spill. This is kind of, like, what do you mean blood must spill? Are they going to sacrifice somebody? What's going on? And that's when Lucy's like, uh-oh. And then we skip back to Cooper and Charlie real quick. And Charlie's like, hey, man, there's someone you should meet. And there's somebody walking up to him. Switches back to the vault. And around, they keep passing that thing, another dish around. And this dish is full of blood. And you see one of these ladies just start guzzling from the dish. And it's like, blood must spill. And they're handing it around and being super culty. And this is when Lucy's like,
I wonder if they have any diseases because of that.
I mean, at this point, their immune systems either are super bad or super good. So one way or the other, there's something going on. But Lucy starts backing away as they continue to chant. She's like, this is kind of awkward. And she's kind of like she's trying to move out of there. Then she looks and she sees this big banner coming in. And then it switches back to the Hollywood Forever building with Cooper, and a woman's approaching behind Cooper and addresses him. And the woman is Moldaver. But remember, this is 2 different times. This is before the bombs drop and after the bombs drop. And Moldaver's alive before the bombs drop, and she's dressed like nice and clean, like looks normal. And then it switches back to Vault 4, and they're all chanting, and they say, "Oh, Flame Mother," and the banner comes into view, and we see that it's Moldaver with a red sun behind her, kind of like a propaganda poster almost. But she's the Flame Mother. And then it goes back to pre-bomb Moldaver, and she's like telling Cooper, "Hey, Cooper Howard, I'm a big fan." And then they walk off, and Cooper watches her with concern, and it kind of switches back to Vault 4, and they're all on the floor kneeling and kind of worshiping her, and Lucy's just kind of stunned. Now that's the question. How is she alive 200 years before, even though she's being worshipped here, and she's alive before the bomb drops? How is that possible?
I have a theory.
Do it.
What is it?
Let's hear it.
He's a synth.
Yo, I didn't even think about that.
He shows no signs of ghoulification, and I don't think she was ever in a vault, because she gives no indication that she was a vault dweller.
But why would they make a synth out of somebody who was leading a communist party before the bombs dropped?
Why are there raider leaders in Fallout 4 that are synths?
Because they replace them? So do you think before the bombs
It
dropped?
could have been the fact that she is an influential power figure of pre-war time,
Are you
and
saying
she got replaced.
that's what I'm saying? Did they replace her before the bombs dropped?
Possibly after.
That's interesting. I hope they bring synths into it. I think that'd be pretty cool. Except for synths could get messy with the storytelling.
Eh. I mean, if we have the Fallout 4 Brotherhood of Steel, it is possible.
Well,
Plus, if you think about all the implants you can get as Courier 6 in New Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
it's not terribly far out of the realm of possibility.
They definitely have the scientific power to do it. I just wonder why. That's
If-
kind of my biggest question.
if she's a synth, would that mean anything for whatever the doctor guy put in his neck, which was like some sort of technology? Would that
Possibly.
mean anything to her as a synth?
Like, why does she want it? True, because like we keep forgetting that the whole purpose of this thing is that head that Thaddeus has currently.
I'm like trying to look at like a side by side between like that lady who's like Cooper. I'm a big fan.
That's her.
Yeah, that looks like a lot like his wife.
No,
Like,
No, it's not.
it's not. It's not. Moldaver is before the only revelation here is that Moldaver is alive before the bombs drop and after the bombs drop, and there's a 200 gap in between both of these events. Not only she was leading a communist party beforehand, and now she has a bunch of worshippers who call her the Flame Mother and kind of gave her a communist banner in a way, right? Because it looked very propaganda-y, like she's looking up into the, like she knows something or something, like she's the leader. But I don't know. Super interesting, huge revelation here. Kind of curious as to see what they're gonna do with it. The synth idea is genius. I didn't even think of that. That one's pretty good. My thought. Go ahead.
I was thinking cryo freezing, like in Fallout 4.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was
think.
thinking. We're gonna say the same thing. I agree. I was thinking cryo freezing, and I was thinking maybe that. So here's my theory. They make it to the vault. I know that they had like the horse scene, and it didn't seem like they were gonna make it to the vault. And maybe like he loses the kid on the way. Maybe something happens. Maybe they make it to the vault. Right? Maybe it's right around the corner. So Cooper's family is safe, right? But then they get cryo frozen. And while they're cryo frozen, they undo Cooper's cryo freezing, and they turn him into a ghoul, and they release him in the wasteland. Then, however many years later, she wakes up, and like he kind of hears rumors of a scientist that sounds like his wife doing something or something. You know what I mean? And so maybe Moldaver was also taken and cryo froze for 200 years. So I think it's one of those. I think synth or cryo freeze. Those are the only two that I can think of that makes sense.
Well, we also have to think that the vault, allegedly, that he is supposed to be getting into is Vault 31. That's the one his wife was aiming for. So if he was going to go to a vault, so
It's
I don't know if they would
close.
do cryo freezing the manager.
Well, we don't know how far apart those vaults are underground, right? Because like Vault 33 was at the ocean, so he was kind of up in the hills when the bombs were dropping. So unless Vault 31 was in the hills, how did he get there without like dying? I don't know. I want more. Give me more Fallout. I want to see more stuff. But yeah, huge revelation. We don't know where they're going with this. Moldaver is a way bigger character. Like we knew she was the bad guy, or maybe the bad guy at this point. It seems like Voltek's kind of just the bad guys. But I don't. Is there even really a good guy? I guess we talked about morality, and Lucy seems to be the only one that's like good.
Chet's a good guy.
Yeah, Chet's a good guy. Yeah, I'll give you that. I think Chet's happy-go-lucky good guy, but we don't like. I honestly, I know you guys like Thaddeus, but he's definitely for the Brotherhood, and he's definitely just still a piece of crap. And Max is the liar. The Ghoul does too many things. Like no one seems very good besides Lucy, and even that's kind of the Wasteland's getting to her. So, and now that she's seen Voltek be a cult and have weird people in it, who knows what she thinks? And the one-eyed dude, right? Like it's kind of weird. A lot of stuff going on. Okay, so we are back with Lucy, right? She stood there gaping, but like we're back with Lucy, and Lucy's like, we need to get out of here. She's just seen this weird cult stuff, and like after, it's funny because the cult was kind of the theme of this whole thing. Everybody was calling Vault-Tec a cult. Everybody was calling not Vault-Tec a cult. They were calling, the Vault Dwellers a cult. They were calling, people outside. It's very talking about cult as the theme in this episode, but she's banging on Max's door, and he opens the door, and he's in his robe, and he's like, this is great. Like, I'm having a great time. And Lucy's like, no, you were right about this place. And he's like, no, you were right. Look I've got oysters. Do you want one? They're so good. They like, oh, by the way, do you want to make my cock explode now? and Lucy's like, what? And he's like, sorry, I meant intercourse. And she's like, no, stop. Like, we need to leave right now. These people are insane. And he's like, yeah, they're like you, a little weird, but like nice. And Lucy's like, no, you're not getting it. And he's like, well, my arm, remember, we need to stay like to heal. And he's like eating some like treats and stuff. Like this conversation, they basically completely switched. And now Lucy's like, we need to get out of here. These guys are a cult and they're bad. And Max is like, no, I like caviar and taking hot showers and like watching TV. They even gave me a robe and slippers. Like, and Lucy's like, no, dude, these people are hiding stuff from us, and I'm gonna prove it to you, okay? I'm not leaving without you. And she runs off. And Max kind of stays in his room. He's like, whatever, sits back down and starts watching TV and eating. So where does Lucy go? The one place she was told not to go. She goes to an elevator, and she goes to level 12. Door closes behind her. She wipes the ash off her head, and she's kind of like freaking out a little bit. She gets to level 12, and she approaches a tunnel that's called Restricted. She turns on her flashlight because it's dark down there, and she kind of heads in there, and the door shuts behind her, and she's kind of nervous, and she's going through there, right? And she sees something in the distance, and it looks like a little control panel, and she's like pressing some buttons. It's opening some doors. She walks in, and it looks like there's like as she walks past. Also, there's a point here where she walks past, and it looks like there's like a aquarium almost, like it's a big like window, and this gulper, it looks kind of dead, but remember the gulpers from earlier, it like drifts into view. She doesn't notice it, but we see it, and it drifts into view and kind of like dunks against the window. So like, why is there gulpers down here? And she finds a TV, and there's like some experiment stuff, and there's like a tub almost or something. And she finds a TV, and it's a video of a pregnant woman in that same tank that's behind her, giving birth to these little fish-like creatures that then, after she births them out into the water, they turn around and start eating her and eat the pregnant lady. And Lucy's like, oh, that's gross, and like turns it off. But
I thought those were piranhas.
They're not. They look, okay. If you look closely, they kind of look like they've got 4 legs and like the gulper head. So I think they're making gulpers in this vault. And what kind of confirms that
makes way more sense.
Right? Not just random piranhas. What makes what makes it even make more sense, right, is she kind of walks into another room, and there's a bunch of cryopods, it looks like. And inside them are pregnant ladies, which kind of leads me to believe that, okay, level 12, they're capturing people from the surface, they're taking women, they're putting them in here, they're impregnating them, and having them birth these creatures. So they must be impregnating them with like axolotl fish stuff or something. I don't know. It's kind of gross. And she's looking at those pods, and that's when she kind of hears the doorway open, and someone's walking towards her, so she hides. And she's hiding
I
behind
don't
one of the
think the
pods.
doorway opens because if I'm not mistaken, she left it open.
I think you're right. So the door's open, but she does hear someone coming, so she hides. Right? And it's the doctor with the nose on his freaking forehead. He comes in. He says, like, hey, oh, glad you're all right. Because he's looking at all the... He turns on the lights, and it, like, lights up everything. And he's like, I saw one of the doors open, and I was worried that one of you might have gotten out. He's talking to the pods like they could have gotten out and, like, started doing stuff. So, like, is he talking to the pregnant ladies, or is he talking to the things that are birthed out of the pregnant ladies?
I don't want to know. This is very weird.
This is Vault-Tec, dude. This is what you start to find. There's some messed up experiments going on. Like, anytime you dive into a vault in any of the games, you're just like, what am I gonna find down here? Plants that have taken over everybody with spores and eaten everybody. A vault system where you vote for your overseer to go down and get murdered, and it's called Ascension. Or a vault full of clones of the same guy named Gary who will chase you around trying to kill you. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in the vaults. But so she's hiding. She tries to crawl away, but her shoe squeaks, and that's when the doctor with the two noses is like, hello? And then he turns around. He doesn't play ball at all. He goes, this is like the smartest person I've ever seen in any of these. Like, he doesn't even question it. He goes over and hits the emergency button, says screw it, grabs himself a harpoon gun, and then is like looking, right, to shoot something. And that's when Lucy...
Consider what might be down there is a gulper. If you know, if one of them's loose, I would go get help too.
Right? Yeah. No, he doesn't mess around, which is kind of cool, right? Like, smart decision by the guy, even though he's got two noses. You think he'd be able to like smell something wrong. Anyway, so she jumps out and he's pointing at the gun at her, and she actually grabs a jar and throws it in his face, and it explodes and it starts burning. So like she like threw acid on his face or something. I don't know. But then all of a sudden, like the response team must be super great because a ton of people start running in. And this is where you see how badass Lucy is, because she starts beating the crap out of everybody. She starts kneeing a guy. She literally throws a dude, like, in the air, throws him. He's not touching the ground and hits the wall. Like, she's badass. She smashes another chick's head against something. She's beating up another dude. Some guy grabs her and she knees him. They have to overwhelm her with numbers because she's just beating the crap out of these people. And she starts screaming, no, you people are crazy, which kind of makes her seem crazy. And she's like, you people are crazy. Your culture's insane. And Birdie walks up and says, I'm sure if we came to your home, we would say the same thing. And then Birdie nods at the men holding Lucy, and she's struggling against their grasp. And it cuts back to Max, and he's just watching TV and eating popcorn and having a good time.
Just enjoying himself.
Yeah, homie's like, you know what? Living down here, this is the best goddamn thing in the world.
Right? And
that robe did look very comfy that he was wearing.
Dude, you know what I'm thinking? There was something in that shower because she really wanted him to take a shower. And I know from Vault-Tec experiments, dude, there's something in that water.
You think so? There's something just like making him be like...
As soon as you take a shower, you want to stay.
I mean, a hot shower is a hot shower, right? In the wasteland, like, he's never had that. It's food, and it's not like he has to fight for it. It's not ass jerky.
I'm thinking there's something in the shower.
There's something in the shower. Right? Everything's a conspiracy all of a sudden, right? That's just Vault-Tec for you. You don't trust anything.
What kind of caviar was that?
I don't know.
Is that gulper caviar?
Really the best?
Dude.
I mean, that tin looks really official.
Dude, no, Nick's onto something here. What if they're giving caviar to all their people and they get impregnated by eating the caviar? But no, because they have all those ones down there.
Pregnant Maximus, episode 7.
Episode 7. Snicker's predictions. He's calling it.
Maximus gives birth to a baby gulper.
Birth to a baby gulper. But wow, what an episode, guys. We found out so much about, like, not only did we find out the huge bombs about Moldaver, we found out more about the ghoul and how he's trying to figure out what was going on. We figured out that, like, obviously Vault 4 is not a good place to be. What else did we find out? Like, just something's going on with the wife of Cooper, and, like, experiments are happening. The Gulpers seem to be have created inside a vault, which is not surprising either because they keep doing crap like that all over the place. Didn't the Enclave make the Death Claws?
No.
I think they might. I don't know. I can't remember because there was that vault that had death claws in it.
That was Vault 13. After the residents of Vault 13 perished from the
I know
Enclave.
they made super
It
mutants.
says the United States military may develop death claws. That's what it said.
They were derived from mixed animal stock and then refined by the master using genetic manipulation.
Okay, so the Enclave they did it before the bombs fell.
And
So
then
they were
the
doing
master kind of perfected them after the
Yeah.
bombs.
Okay. So the Death Claws escaped from the Enclave and got into, they developed their own culture and spread across the wasteland and killed the stuff and all that good stuff. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, obviously experiments are going on and creatures are being created that never should be created. But okay, fantastic episode. Let's go ahead and give our ratings. Let's start with Dab Ninja. What did you think of the episode, and what's your rating of the episode?
I think it was a pretty good episode. We got a lot of good pre-war info, like basis of what's going on. We got a good mix of what's going on between, at least the Ghoul, Lucy, and Max. We didn't see Thaddeus this episode, which, that's fine by me. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10.
You're making it difficult on me.
I am.
We're throwing decimals in there.
Okay, well, 8.5 out of 10 for the Dab Ninja. What could have made it a 10? Just because we didn't see Thaddeus and don't know what's going on with him?
I would have liked to see a couple more people get killed, if I'm being honest with you.
Damn. I guess, well, there wasn't really an opportunity because we were in the vault and we were also.
I know, and the Ghoul only shot the two
before-
sheriffs. I don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, a gunfight would have been.
You wanted more bloodlust?
Yes.
Okay. All right, 8.5 out of 10. Especially with their effects, though. I think there's some really good effects that they do for these fights, so good more action scenes would have been appreciated. Snickerer, what is your rating of the show, and what'd you think?
I enjoyed the episode. It is a little slower. I agree with Dab Ninja. There could have been a little bit more action, I guess, considering it was a longer episode compared to the previous.
It's very information full.
Yes, they're definitely trying to, like, give you everything because there's only 2 episodes left, and you need to know this before you get to the last episode. So they're packing it full. But I'll give it an 8. It was good. I really enjoyed, especially the Ghoul's dialogue when he's in the government office, just talking to that dumb sheriff and he's just poking him. I really enjoyed that scene.
Pretty much any scene with the Ghoul talking is my favorite scene.
Because he's not phased at all, and he's nothing really bugs him.
No, I mean the guy was literally buried alive, right? Like, he's not worried.
Yeah, and then whatever Lucy found down there was just disturbing. Like that creeped me out. That was the first time in the show that it's been like, give me some shakes or whatever.
Want to look away? Want to get away?
So yeah, I'm gonna go with an 8.
Okay, 8 out of 10 for Snicker, 8.5 for the Dab Ninja. Banana, what is your rating of the show? What'd you think?
I think it was good. I think it was a 9.
9 out of 10?
Yes, sir.
What could have made it a 10?
I need to know more.
Just because you want more questions answered.
Yep.
We'll do 2 things here. We'll kind of give our, like, when we finally get to the end, we'll give our overall rating, but I think we'll also do an average of what our average ratings of every episode were. So 9 out of 10. Banana loved it all. He just wanted more. But my rating for episode 6, The Trap. I really like this episode. Tons of information given, but I don't feel like they rushed anything. I know we said this was a longer episode, but honestly, a lot of shows don't do a good job of giving you good information throughout. And I feel like this show has revealed information when you needed it and done it in such a way that you still have questions, that it still pulls you on, that it's still interesting. I'm not as frustrated as I just want to watch the next episode, right? So kind of annoying that they released all the episodes at once and didn't do it weekly, because it kind of screwed us over because we're watching it weekly. But I can definitely see why they did them all at once, because people probably just binged the crap out of this to find out what happens. There's too many questions to not want to know. So, with that being said, my rating is going to be... Well, currently, math-wise, if we got a 9 out of 10 and 8 out of 10, that means it's an 8.5 average, which means if Dab Ninja says an 8.5 and I say a 9.5 out of 10, because I love this episode probably more than you guys. I didn't really need more action either. Like, I just want questions answered, which means next episode. Which means overall, if I'm not mistaken, the episode's a 9 out of 10. Right? Because those two pull to an 8.5, 8.5
I don't
to a
think
9.5.
that maths out.
Somebody do the math. Because I figured if 8.5 and a 9, or 8 and a 9 pull it to an 8.5, that means it's Brad's rating is 8.5. So then I put my rating in, and that pulls it to a 9, right? I'm trying to make math easy for us, and you guys are just screwing with me.
No, you're making it harder.
Nuh-uh.
I pull up my calculator.
Mr. Maths is over there, but okay, great episode.
You know what? Next episode, I'm rating it an 8.7.
I'm just going to eliminate your ratings then. We will not do half ratings.
We're going to
only
round.
full number ratings. Otherwise, I start rounding. Was my math correct, Nick? What do we get?
No, you get an 8.75 out of 10.
Son of a... All right, well, 8 3/4 out of 10, I guess. But pretty solid episode. I had a great time. We had a great time watching it. We were watching these episodes multiple times a week, so we're finding all this stuff. But thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ding the bell. We will be doing the next episode and the one after that, and then season 2 for sure. There's no way we're not going to watch season 2. So come by, say hi. We're streaming Fallout all the time. As always, become the best you can be. Become a Vault Tech experiment, which doesn't sound...
No, don't become that.
like a good time.
Become a communist.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Quote Snickerer on this one, become a communist. Believe it.
Watch out. Well, watch out. There's a two-legged animal running about.